across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
D-Day is upon us. Be afraid, be very afraid. 3 minutes past 6, top of the morning to you. I'm Mark Dolan. This is Morning Glory, a big show to come today, a big 4 hours. A nation awaits. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, addresses Parliament. And let me be honest with you, this has major implications, not just for the political outlook of the country, but the economy too, and the very foundations of our democracy. A big, big day. That's right, the Chancellor will deliver her much-trailed budget statement. We'll bring you expert opinion from across the political spectrum in an effort to anticipate just what is coming and how it will affect you. And our focus this morning is, and I'd like to thank Karen, my caller from yesterday, for this terminology. Our focus is the alarm clock Brits. Morning Glory is the show for alarm clock Brits. Are you someone that gets up early in the morning, works hard, puts a shift in and takes less out than you put in? Do you contribute more than you take from the state? Well, are you an alarm clock Brit? And if so, what is your message to Rachel Reeves today? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Send the word talk in your text to 87222, or leave me a voice note. Your message to the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, this morning. The platform is yours. Also breaking this morning, a leaked document seen by The Telegraph reveals that jury trials are to be scrapped for all but the most serious crimes. This from a Justice Secretary in David Lammy, who just a few years ago said that jury trials are central to our democracy. So what are the implications for justice in this country? And bad orange man strikes again. Has Donald done it again? Is a Ukraine peace deal now in the offing? We'll head stateside for reaction. Also this morning, as the Kevin Hollinrake Reform UK Nazi row continues, should the Tory party chairman consider his position? I'll be asking the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Plus on this morning's show, former Minister for Common Sense Esther McVey, fearless barrister Stephen Barrett on changes to jury trials, and the king of political journalism, Trevor Kavanagh, on whether Rachel from Accounts will survive this budget. And more importantly, will we survive it? Are you an alarm clock Brit? What is your message to the Chancellor? Call me now, 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Send me a voice note. We've got such a busy show. As the saying goes, let's talk. 5 minutes past 6, lovely to have your company. Many of you already on your way to work, lots of you getting the kids ready for school, some of you at the tail end of a night shift. Whatever you're doing, may I salute you for your contribution to the unstoppable powerhouse that is the British economy. This show is there for the people that have actually contributed something to this country. You might be retired, and I salute you too, because you've paid your taxes and you paid into the system for years and years and years, or you're out to work today making something of your lives. And what do you get in response? You get taxed to the hilt by Rachel from Accounts. By the way, a very special Dolan's Dispatch today with my alternative budget message. That's right, at 9 a.m. I'll be delivering my alternative budget, and I'll get reaction from Dame Andrea Jenkins, who, let me tell you, does not take any prisoners. Now, the Daily Telegraph front page, jury trials scrapped for most crimes. Massive story. David Lammy is set to scrap jury trials for most crimes, despite previously arguing they were fundamental to democracy. In leaked documents seen by the Telegraph, the Justice Secretary, mastermind himself no less, has proposed juries will only decide upon cases of murder, rape, manslaughter and other serious offences carrying sentences of more than 5 years. What are the implications? I'll be speaking to one of the country's top lawyers about that later in the show. Britain ready to put boots on the ground in Ukraine peace deal, and dirty dozen tax rises to hit middle-class families. Middle-class families face a dirty dozen tax rise in the budget as Rachel Reeves expands the welfare state. After abandoning plans for the first increase in income tax rates since 1975, the Chancellor will instead impose a string of other tax rises that will mostly be borne by Middle England. Freezing income tax thresholds for 2 more years will cover much of the revenue raising that she requires to plug a £30 billion black hole in the finances. It's not complicated, Rachel. Cut public spending, reduce taxes to grow the economy, and then we've got money for police officers and doctors and fixing the potholes. She gets it. So she doesn't get it, I say. I get it. You get it. She doesn't get it. Daily Mail now, and budget we've all been dreading. Reeves faces chorus of condemnation for pricing young people out of work. An inflation-busting hike to the minimum wage threatens to push even more young people out of work. Rachel Reeves was warned last night. On the eve of today's budget, the Chancellor faced a huge backlash over the bonkers rise to both the national living and minimum wage. An extraordinary chorus of business leaders and economists, including left-leaning economists, have said it will simply result in more young people being left on the job scrap heap as the cost of employing them spirals. The Sun newspaper, Britain's best-selling newspaper, brace yourselves. Here is Rachel Reeves's budget ledger. Taxes on work, pensions, houses, taxis, milkshakes, hotel stays and having fun, all up. Tax on fuel, at least that's frozen. That's right, Rachel Reeves will today keep the fuel duty freeze while driving up overall taxes to punishing new levels. She's going to trumpet this, oh, I've frozen the fuel duty. This is a woman that will taketh with one hand and giveth with the other. The I paper, moment of truth for Reeves and the UK economy. The Express, let me get this past a massive advert for Boots. Other pharmacies are available. Superdrug. The Daily Express, plan for judges alone to hear cases where sentences are up to 5 years. Now Calamity Lammy wants to axe jury trials. Daily Mirror, autumn budget vow. Here we go for a bit of statist propaganda from the Mirror, which is the in-house newsletter of this Labour government. Autumn budget vow, help is at hand. Is it? Good luck with that. Chancellor tells the Mirror there will be wage rises for millions of low-paid workers. Yeah. Comfortably neutralised, Rachel, by inflation and the costs on business, which will be passed on to workers. The Times newspaper, trial by jury only for the most serious of crimes in Lammy reform. I wouldn't call that reform, I'd call it a dismantling of our justice system. Reeves aims at workers, savers and pensioners. Yeah, basically alarm clock Britain. Why do we bother? Why do we get up in the morning? Why do we set our alarms? It's a good question. Science charts 5 ages of the human brain is also a story in the Times. When Shakespeare sketched his 7 ages of man, he imagined a human life progressing from mewling infancy to... Whatever happened to newspaper articles that just get to the story? Why do I need this poetry for 10 minutes before you tell me what's going on in the world? When it comes to the brain, research suggests there are 5 distinct ages. These include an adolescent phase that extends into your 30s. Well, I'm 51 and I'm still a kid, but there you go. Each to their own. The Guardian now, Reeves vows to tackle cost of living crisis in decisive budget for Labour. Jury trials to be scrapped for all but the most serious offences. And Farage faces fresh racism allegations from former classmates. This is how desperate The Guardian are. They cannot address Nigel Farage on a policy basis. The Guardian don't care that their readers are struggling with inflation, rising unemployment, spiralling government debt, crime on the streets and illegal immigration. No, The Guardian's more concerned about what Nigel Farage may or may not have said as a prepubescent teenager in, it would have been the 70s, wouldn't it, Christian? I mean, 49 years ago. It's wild, isn't it? The media elite, they just don't care about you. They would rather peddle this nonsense about what Farage said or didn't say as a rather silly teenager. I mean, honestly, if my remarks on a playground were available now, forget it, folks. It's game over. 3 more school contemporaries who claim to have witnessed Nigel Farage's alleged teenage racism have rejected the Reform UK leader's suggestion it was banter, describing it as targeted, persistent and nasty. I've got bad news for you, Guardian. It won't work. A political revolution is coming, and your rather pathetic demonisation of a politician rather than a probing of his ideas is going to ultimately produce no dividends whatsoever. Folks, they tried it with Trump, and well, look what happened. The biggest landslide virtually in American political history last November, winning by every metric. In fact, I would argue that The Guardian are helping Farage into number 10 with this nonsense. And, you know, there is a case to answer. You know, do Reform's numbers add up? I don't know. Are they ready for power? I'm not so sure. Is Reform UK a bit of a personality cult? Is Nigel a diva? These are reasonable and sensible questions. Is the party a democracy? Those are good questions, and we can do that. But I don't care what he said when he was in his little knee-high to a grasshopper shorts on the playground with his conkers. There you go. The world's gone conkers, hasn't it? Are you an alarm clock Brit? I want your voice notes for Rachel Reeves this morning. What is your message to Rachel Reeves this morning? I've got here a unnamed listener to the show who says, good morning, Mark. Let's hope this budget is the final nail in Rachel Thieves, followed by Starmer. Zoe in Lancashire. Good morning, Zoe. I've just got back from Lancashire. What a beautiful county that is. Zoe says, if Rachel raises the minimum wage, this sounds amazing until you look at it sensibly and realise that this will only mean you'll end up paying more tax. Business won't be able to afford to employ young people. To be really honest, Mark, what's the point busting your balls all week just so old Rachel can take it all off you again each month? Disgusting, says Zoe in Lancashire. Good morning, Mark, says Sean. Message to Keith Starlin. No one is critical of Rachel Thieves because she's a woman. It's because she's a lying idiot that can't add up. She's a liar, right? Her CV, right, raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return. It is the greatest work of fiction since War of Peace. She's a liar. She's a provable liar. Sue me. Rachel Reeves, sue me. You are a liar. And idiot's another word. Now, I wouldn't use that intemperate language. You know, it's unparliamentary. But let me tell you, Sean, you can use it because this show belongs to you. And if you think it, we put it on the radio and we put it on telly. So you're entitled to say it. I wouldn't. I'd say incompetent fool. But it's all about opinions. Also, Sean says, I'm apparently a far-right, racist, misogynistic, white, privileged thug. You're not Sean. You're a rock star and a legend. Keep those messages coming, young man. Sarah. By the way, Sarah, you're a regular texter to the show. So in your next text, can you tell me if it's Sarah or Sarah? Because it's spelled S-A-R-A. Let me know in your next text how I pronounce your name. But I think it's Sarah. Says, good morning, Mark. Not looking forward to the budget. I work in a special needs school, but feel I'm working for people who can't be bothered or just walk into my country for my wages. Jane in Wiltshire. Jane, again, both of those things are provably true. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute, I'm confused. It says Sarah and then it says Jane in Wiltshire. There you go. Who cares? It's live, isn't it? By the way, we're on the radio. If you want to see us, we're on TV as well. Just head to YouTube, search Talk, and we just pop up, right? We're there. And we are there in the company of the devilishly handsome and rather well-suited Simon Danchuk, former Labour MP and now Reform UK supporter. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Rachel Reeves' budget. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a survival budget. The Starmer and Reeves political career depend on this.
Yeah.
It will either make or break them. And that's not just from a public perspective, that's from a Labour MP perspective, because the backbenchers are really concerned about what happens from this.
I know. I mean, you wonder who wrote the budget, Rachel from accounts or her backbenchers.
Oh, well, without a doubt. I mean, she was trailing heavily trailing the idea of increasing income tax, and then the Labour backbenchers let it be known that they didn't want that to happen because it was a breach of their manifesto pledge, and so she's pulled back on that, and now we're going to have lots of minor tax increases of various kinds that are going to impact everybody. I mean, it's a disaster, really, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, definitely. This salami slicing approach is going to be what she'll do today, and that will be annoying lots of individual sort of groups and industries, a bit like the farmers and the pensioners that we saw last time round. And that's actually politically more damaging than just a simple increase in the main rate of income tax, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the impact of her previous budget, where we've seen national insurance increases, jobs being cut, unemployment is going up, growth is stagnating. It's a real issue for the country, never mind for the Labour Party or for Keir Starmer or for Reeves. And the problem politically that Starmer has got is that he is inextricably linked to Reeves.
Right.
So if she fails, then he fails as well. And there's already talk of him being replaced. So if this budget is a disaster, then I can't see him lasting much longer than Christmas. I would have given him until May next year. But if this budget is really badly received, then he could be gone by Christmas.
Yes, because Labour MPs will be concerned about the complete obliteration of the party locally at the local elections in May, that they may wish to sort of push before they have to jump kind of thing. And in anticipation of a wipeout in May, maybe they get rid of Starmer before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I speak to people. I live in Westminster, literally live in Westminster constituency. And so I speak to lots of politicians, and there's no doubt about it that Labour MPs, are desperately concerned about where they are politically and electorally, and if this budget fails, which there's a good chance of it will do, then they will be calling for him to go.
She's between, Simon, isn't she, a rock and a hard place, because I would suggest she's got two audiences, which is Labour backbenchers who won't let her do the right thing, which is to cut spending. Remember the abortive efforts to pin back the cost of the PIP disability payments. That would have been about $5 billion. She wasn't able to do that, and that was, by the way, a trivial saving in relative terms. They wouldn't even let her do that. So she's got the left-wing Labour backbenchers to worry about. And then on the complete other side of the spectrum, she's got the financial markets who are worried about the viability of the British economy. Those two constituencies are at odds with each other because the Labour backbenchers want spend. The markets won't have it. So her dilemma is, where to take this budget and which audience to please most.
Yeah, she's really struggling with this. And what's interesting, from when I was in Parliament, and I knew Rachel Reeves, I met with Rachel Reeves, so I have some insight into how she and Labour operate. She painted herself as a very serious politician, similar to Gordon Brown in terms of a demeanour and everything else, but she's been found wanting. There's no doubt about that. She's been found wanting in terms of her ability to deliver. And this is what's going to happen today. You're exactly right. She is struggling to keep Labour MPs on side. They don't want tax rises, but they don't want benefit cuts. I mean, the amount that we're spending on benefits and welfare now is incredibly ridiculous. And yet they are stopping her from reducing that bill. She's not many places to go. It'll be interesting to see what she actually does.
I've never known a government with such a large majority to seem so powerless.
Yeah, absolutely. In such a short period of time. I mean, we're not 18 months, a year and a half into this government, and yet it's struggling. But it was always elected. It was, there's no love for Labour. There was never any love for Labour, and that's the problem that they've got. Nobody really, they just wanted a change from the Conservatives, and now they've got Labour. They're certainly not happy with that.
And also, I wonder what's also tricky is that the politicians sitting on those backbenchers feel like they're going to be a one-term MP. Therefore, they've got nothing to lose, no skin in the game in one sense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's really challenging the leadership of the country, Starmer and Reeves. The backbench Labour MPs see that they may well be out of power, out of the job that they've been craving for many years, I suspect. They're going to lose the job. And so what do they do from here? They're going to change leader. I would put money on that. It'll either be by May next year or even earlier than that, perhaps Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, that is extraordinary that you can't rule out Starmer gone by Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. And
especially if the markets don't respond well today.
Yeah, no, that's right. And, you know, you can't keep borrowing, you know, and people are complaining about, the people that are lending the money, the organisations that are lending the money, which are the pensions, really. That's who's lending the money to government. But they're challenging what government are doing, quite rightly. So we are borrowing billions per month to keep people on benefits. I mean, that's not sustainable.
It's a very, very well put point, which is why you need to be back in frontline politics, in my humble opinion, Simon Danchuk. This is Rachel Reeves's previous utterances on the budget issue.
This is a once-in-a-parliament budget.
I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
But we don't need to come back for more. We're not going to have to come back and ever do a budget like this again. So never again will I have to do a budget like I did in October. There is no need to come back with another budget like this. We never need to do that again.
5 minutes later.
There are tax rises coming down the track.
Yeah, but
Pretty damning stuff, isn't it? Good morning, Mark. This is Darren from Coningsby here. And yes, I'm an alarm clock Brit. Talking of Rachel from Accounts Budget today, I run a business with 40 employees. With the raise to minimum wage, that is now no Christmas bonus and a smaller pay rise. That's on top of all the tax rises coming. Our fuel bill will go up as we're a national company with lots of travel. On top of that, hotel prices are going through the roof, and we lose on every one as the demand is higher due to asylum seekers filling them up. I think they want to bankrupt the country. It does feel like a scorched earth policy, doesn't it? This is Kevin, who's an alarm clock Brit. Take it away, Kevin.
Morning, Mark. Kevin in Sheffield. I'm currently stood at a bus stop that's 20 minutes late. It's -1 degrees. I consider myself a alarm clock Briton. I've been up since 5 o'clock. I've got an 11-hour shift to look forward to in a place that's very cold most of the day. I'd like to be one of these people who choose not to work. Unfortunately, the state wouldn't give me any benefits if I choose to do so. So I'll get to work, Mark, pay me taxes, and then Rachel Reeves can take all my money off me. Great show. Carry on the good work.
Kevin, we're here for you. You are why Morning Glory and why Talk exists. We've got your back. We've got your we got your best interest at heart. This government doesn't. Why do you bother up at 5 o'clock in the morning, stood there at a bus stop, waiting for a bus which is late because we've got a crumbling infrastructure, working hard, paying your taxes so that others, Kevin, don't have to? It's deeply wrong, and we will make sure that we get that message across via the TV and radio airwaves over the next 3.5 hours. Thank you for that, Kevin. What a great way to start the show, and also that excellent message from the business owner that we just heard from earlier. Listen, it's all about your opinions. What is your message to Rachel Reeves on Budget Day? More on this next.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the Talk TV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Morning Glory, 27 minutes past 6. It is budget day. Be afraid, be very afraid. We're going to bring you analysis from across the political spectrum. But our focus here is to give you a platform to say to Rachel Reeves what you want from today's budget and what is your message to the Chancellor. This is Kate in the Wirral. She says, good morning, Mark. I'm just out with the dogs already and then straight out to work afterwards to pay tax, so that those who make sitting at home all day a lifestyle choice and so that they can have an extra child or 3. I was just reminiscing the good old days of the budget when the only thing that was speculated on was how much extra we would have to pay for a gallon of petrol, a pint and a pack of 20. Such halcyon days. Have a great day. That's Kate in the Wirral. Kate, you have a great day too. Rachel... sorry, Lisa. Got to put my teeth back in. Lisa, good morning, Lisa. Thank you for messaging the show. Good morning, Mark. I'm tucked up in bed as I lost my job a few weeks ago in the new homes housing market as it's stone dead. Thanks, Rachel. This is the real world consequences of her policies, is it not? Good morning, Mark. Says Bear, the bus driver. Let's hope this is the last morning that Rachel from Accounts sets her alarm clock as she's out of work tomorrow. Get some more of your messages very, very shortly. Rachel Reeves, by the way, photographed, this has gone a bit viral, in the Treasury, or a number 11, with a chessboard. There you go. Because it's a game to her, isn't it? If she'd spent less time playing board games and more time running the economy properly, we wouldn't be in fear of this horrible budget that's coming, which, Simon Danchuk, could prove to be worse than the notorious Halloween budget of last October.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're heading for disaster. I mean, the economy is already faltering. The growth prospects for the country have been downgraded by the Office of Budget Responsibility. So it's going in the wrong direction. I don't think she's doing anything to save the country. And you talked earlier about the minimum wage. They're talking about it's being talked about that she's going to increase the minimum wage for young people by 8.5%. Now, that, young people might celebrate that, but employers will just stop employing young people. They're not going to pay loads of money to young people who are just learning. They're just on the, we've all been there. But they don't want to pay young people loads of cash for a job that they're just learning about. She is killing employment opportunities for young people and for the wider economy. I mean, that's what we saw from the last budget, and she's going to add to that in this budget. Unemployment is going up, and we're losing jobs. That means fewer people paying taxes. The economy is going in the wrong direction.
Well, Rachel Reeves spent the entire run-up to the election telling us that she's an economist, a lot of which is fabricated, particularly her alleged time in the Bank of England, which she said was a decade. It was in the best part of 4 or 5 years in reality. And she protested too much because, in fact, she shows no knowledge of basic economics, because her efforts to raise taxes on business and red tape, and now policies like the minimum wage hike. Also, alongside that, an exploding welfare state demonstrate that you're not going to have growth and you're going to have more unemployment. So this is not the party of working people, quite the opposite.
Absolutely. You know, the idea was that, and it's in the name, the Labour Party. It was supposed to be the party of work. But it's not. It's the party of benefits. It's supporting people who are on benefits, and that's what we're going to see today. She's going to increase the amount that's spent on welfare, and that's not good for the economy. It's not even good for the people who are receiving the money. You know, it creates a culture of fecklessness, and that's not good for those that are in that situation. They need encouraging and enabling to get back into employment. And
this hike in the minimum wage, right? Minimum wage, it's one of those virtuous policies that looks good on paper, but will have an unfortunate, downside further down the line. It's a particularly egregious, isn't it, to affect young people with the issue of unemployment, because they're school leavers, they're graduates, they want to get a job in the local pub or in a hotel, maybe a Tesco Express, or some sort of basic job just to get started in the world of work, and they will be deprived of that as a result of this policy.
Yeah, absolutely. And added to the budget today, we've got this employment rights bill that's coming through, that gives rights and rights to employees from day one. And I've spoke to employers, they just say to me, listen, we'll just take on fewer people. We're not going to take people on and give them rights from day one, whether it's in terms of sick leave or anything else. It just discourages employment, and that's a major concern for the country now.
6:33 Morning Glory. What is your message to Rachel Reeves? Send me a voice note, text the word talk in your message to 87222, or call me on 0344 499 1000. Are you an alarm clock Brit? What is your message to the Chancellor? The floor is yours for the next 3.5 hours. I'm handing over this platform to you to communicate directly with number 11 Downing Street. Next up is the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, about to dismantle the justice system of this country. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Top of the morning to you. It is Morning Glory, and it is Budget Day. Be afraid, be very afraid. What is your message to Rachel Reeves? Send me a voice note, give me a call, or text the word talk in your message to 87222. Are you an alarm clock Brit? Because we've got your back today as the nation awaits. It's the most hotly anticipated sequel since The Hangover 2. With me in the studio reacting to the big stories of the day, former Labour MP and now Reform UK supporter Simon Danchuk. And Simon, a massive new development. If it wasn't Budget Day, this would be the lead story. Jury trials to be scrapped for most crimes. David Lammy is set to end jury trials for most crimes, despite previously arguing they're fundamental to democracy. In leaked documents by The Telegraph, the Justice Secretary, mastermind himself, has proposed juries will only decide upon cases of murder, rape and manslaughter and serious offences that carry a sentence of more than 5 years. But I'm very confused because in 2021, he said this.
The jury system is fundamental to our constitutional arrangement. We should not use the coronavirus as a cover to abandon juries, which is the opportunity to be judged by 12 of your peers. Juries being replaced by judges and magistrates is effectively the establishment, rather than your peers who live in your community deciding what justice should be.
Another Labour U-turn. Simon Danchuk, what are the implications for British justice by this move, do you think?
Well, real concerns, really. Yeah, and it's ironic that not that long ago, David Lammy, the Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister, I might add, who's lost a lot of credibility, was saying that jury trials were fundamental to our democracy. But the implications are that it's going to be left to activist judges to make decisions on cases of justice. And that should be a real concern for everybody in Britain, because we haven't been able to rely on judges to reach the right decision. And we have relied on juries to reach the right decision previously, and that's going to be scrapped. It's almost a step closer to totalitarianism. I mean, authoritarianism. People will be concerned about this.
Most definitely. Of course, for example, Lucy Connolly, who issued and published an unfortunate and regrettable tweet. It was a mistake regarding migrant hotels. She deleted it and apologised, but it was an activist judge that put her in prison for over a year.
Yeah, and if Lucy Connolly had been better advised, I think, legally, then she would have gone to trial, to jury trial. And if she'd gone to jury trial, she wouldn't have ended, I believe, she wouldn't have ended up with the sort of sentence that she received from an activist judge. So we're going to have more activist judges, more people, more judges making decisions on what is right and what is wrong. And I do believe it's a real going to be a real flaw in our democracy. I think it's a step backwards.
It's a tragedy when you consider that the UK is a sort of the global epicenter of the criminal justice system. You know, we're world renowned, and yet we're now dismantling it.
Yeah, absolutely. People throughout the Commonwealth and beyond look to Britain in terms of how we do justice.
It's the model.
Yeah, it is the model. You know, I travel throughout Africa and elsewhere, and they look to Britain as an example of how we do justice, and we are literally dismantling it. We have 80,000. We have a backlog of 80,000 cases that need to go to trial. But you know, if you look at this, the judges don't work through, you know, look at how the system works in terms of productivity. It's a very moribund system. That's what needs changing. You don't need to change how justice is done. You just need to get people being more productive within the public system that we have in place.
Yes, and jurors have common sense because they live in the real world. They're ordinary people and from a cross-section of society, which judges are not.
No, judged by your peers. That's the whole idea of a jury system, and that's what they are dismantling. I think it's quite scary, actually. People shouldn't underestimate what's happening.
To be fair to Lammy and to this Labour government, it's a legacy of decades of neglect of the criminal justice system, and the justice, the budget for the Justice Department, which has been slashed way back, including, I think, 40% cuts to the Justice Department in the 2010s under then Justice Secretary Kenneth Clarke. So there's a long tail to this, isn't there?
Yeah, but I would always argue that it's not just about money. It's about getting people to work efficiently.
Yeah.
You know, judges take the summer off, so they're off for months during the summer. There's no trials during the summer period. You or I might have a week or 2 weeks in August. They have literally months off. It just doesn't work. They need to radically change how the system works. But getting rid of juries is not the answer.
It's not the answer. I think it's a real worry. I'll be taking your calls on this. And actually, Simon, this is a good day to bury bad news, isn't it? It's budget day. This egregious assault on our effectively constitution, the legal framework of the country, is going to be, drowned out by budget talk. And so perhaps this leak is perhaps not an accident.
Oh, yeah, no, they're getting the news out there, aren't they? And I think they will pursue it. I think Lammy is determined to implement this. But it is ironic, this is somebody who said that it was fundamental to democracy, and now he is scrapping it. I mean, I don't think it's a positive solution. I think it's very bad news for the public.
Indeed. I mean, this is another U-turn. This is Labour pronouncing stuff, a year or two previously, and then reneging on that. These people seem to have no principles whatsoever.
They had no plan for government. That's what is astonishing. The bigger picture on all of this is that they had, I think, is it 14 years to prepare for government from 2010, and yet they arrive, in July 2024. And they have not got a plan in place, whether it's in terms of the economy, whether it's in terms of the justice system, or many other government departments. It's astonishing that they just did not have a plan for government.
No, you obviously entered Parliament in 2010, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely.
And so, we'd had the Blair years, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because, Blair's got his critics, but it was a more coherent administration, wasn't it?
The contrast is stark, isn't it? We can argue over whether we like Blair or not, but he had a vision.
So you came in for his second term, didn't you?
No, I came in just as he'd handed over to Brown.
Right, that was it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And Brown had just finished when I came in.
Right.
But Blair had provided leadership and direction and vision. And whatever we think of him, he provided that. Just like Margaret Thatcher did, so taking the party politics out of it. Blair did that. But what we have with Starmer, goodness knows what. I mean, that's where he's found lacking. There is no vision, there is no direction. And it's not just the public that think that, it's his backbenchers, it's Labour MPs that see that as well. And that's why they're calling for him to go. He's just been over-promoted. I mean, that's the reality.
I will tell you that Margaret in Yorkshire has had an excellent idea for the economy. Margaret says, good morning, Mark and Simon. With the thought of today's budget, is it time to hide your money under the mattress? Not a bad idea, which is why we must never kill cash, Margaret. Helen from London, what's true is this budget is causing a lot of justified anxiety. I'm looking to reduce what I'm doing. Fed up of having the life taxed out of me. That's very well put, Helen. Good morning, Mark and Simon. The reaction from the backbenchers will be interesting today. They will love the benefits boost, but the rest not so sure. That's Jules in London. Nikki in Huntingdon says, good morning, Mark. My son and I would like to join the alarm clock people. He, a veteran, left home at 3 a.m. to drive an HGV for around 15 hours. And myself, at 60 next year, work 2 jobs, so I have a little bit of money for myself after paying bills. I was a police officer and then worked for the MOD, but I had to cash in my pensions, and Lord knows what is in store. Nikki in Huntingdon there, holding down 2 jobs, quite extraordinary. And her son, a veteran, gets up at 3 in the morning to drive a truck for 15 hours for so little reward. It's so unfair, Nikki. It's so wrong. Will things improve today? Will we get good news? What is your message to Rachel Reeves? Drop me a voice note like this montage, carefully put together by my excellent team. Take a listen.
I'm one of the alarm clock people. I get up at anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30, and now I'm going to be paying more tax towards people who are sat on the backsides doing nothing and earning a living for doing absolutely diddly squat. Sometimes I just wonder, what the hell am I bothering for?
I'm one of the alarm clock people. I'm off to work now. It's 5 to 7. I've been up since 5:30. I'm going to work to earn a few shekels to pay for all the hotels and all the benefits that people are claiming.
I run a garden room business. I'm up at 5 every day. Don't go to bed till probably 10, 11 every night. Got multiple jobs on. busy, pay silly amounts of tax for what? For what?
I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning. I do never less than 12 hours a day, but I have customers that have never worked a day in their lives. That's what annoys me. I don't have a problem in working hard. I've got principles.
Yes, I'm an alarm clock Brit. 3:30 my alarm goes off. I'm out of the house by 4:15.
I was one of them that had the annoying alarm clock go off this morning at 4:15 to be on the road for 5:30, to do an 11-hour day, to earn pittance. By the time Rachel Reeves has got her fingers on everything, you do sometimes sit there and think, what's the point?
There's just no end, mate. There's no end. I'm all legit. I do my tax return. I've got my UTR number. They always find a way of taxing me at the end of the year, even with what I've had to pay out. Yeah, I'm thinking of going on the dole, mate. Sod it.
And I can't blame you. Morning Glory is the home of the alarm clock Brits. Are you one of them? What is your message to Rachel Reeves? This from Gary. Good morning, Mark. I think based on all the leaks, we can expect a budget that will help add more pressure on small businesses like ours, whilst doing nothing to help growth, the only thing that actually matters. They will claim a victory for the working class, but it will have a negative effect on employing, especially among the young. Need them out and Farage in. Well, here's a question. Does Britain survive this budget? Does Rachel Reeves survive this budget? Does Keir Starmer survive this budget? Or will he be the stuffed turkey at Christmas? This is Morning Glory.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
8:50, Morning Glory, the home of Alarm Clock Brits. What is your message to the Chancellor on Budget Day? This is a voice note from Anna. Anna, all yours.
Morning, Mark. Anna, sorry. Been running little businesses for many years around the area. What Rachel has to remember, and Starmer, is people that run businesses, people that start things, adventurers like myself, elderly adventurers now, we find ways around things. You don't work with a business will do its best, its utmost best to survive. So you hit us with costs, we will find ways to duck and dive and move around them. What I would appeal for today, Rachel, inspire me. Rachel, tell me why I should employ 10 people. Tell me why I should start another little business. Tell me why I should bother. Cheers, Mark.
Anna, that is the abiding theme of the messages so far, which is why do we bother? Why do you set the alarm? Why do you take risks? Why do you borrow money on your property to start a business when you are clobbered by this government who seem to absolutely detest enterprise? It doesn't make sense. And Anna, you're so right. The companies will adapt. They will cut their cloth. They will try to survive. They will navigate the extra taxes. But as Anna, I'm sure you'll agree, overall, that will still impact the activity in the economy. It will impact the growth. And we live, Simon Danchuk, in a kind of Orwellian nightmare where this government say the opposite of what is actually true. And Rachel Reeves calls herself the most pro-growth chancellor in history.
Yeah, that's what she says, but that's not the reality of it. Anna is exactly right. You know, I speak to business people all the time, and they feel like they are under the cosh. You know, it's rises in national insurance on employers. We're going to see today, it's being trailed that we're going to see today increases in the minimum wage for young people. It's all good and well, you know, instituting these changes, but for employers, for small businesses, which make up most of the job creation in Britain, it's devastating. It's going to have a massive impact.
This increase in a minimum wage for young people who won't have a job.
Yeah,
it makes no sense because it's like France, right? France has a better workers' rights and more unemployment.
Yeah.
Now, I would argue that unemployment is worse than workers' rights.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the right approach for Britain. There's no doubt about it. And it's the same with the farmers' tax. You know, I was speaking to a business back in Rochdale, where I come from, and it's not just a tax on farmers. It's a tax on it's a family business tax. So they are actually refusing to grow the business because they're going to end up paying more taxes, and they don't want to give away more in capital gains tax. You know, it's a contradiction. It's stilting growth. It's not encouraging it.
And I think another big factor is the messaging from this government, and the messaging this afternoon from Rachel Reeves is so negative because the messaging is don't hire someone, don't invest, don't take a risk, don't borrow money to start a business, don't get up in the morning at 5 a.m. and stand at a bus stop -1 degrees waiting for a bus that's late because our infrastructure's crumbling, to put in a 10 or 12 hour shift only for others to sit at home watching Sky TV and mainlining pizza and ready meals. That is the problem, is that every budget comes with it messaging about what is important. And I know she wasn't perfect, I know she made mistakes, but Margaret Thatcher's messaging for a decade was very clear, which is that if you take risks, if you work hard, if you deploy your talents, you will be rewarded.
Yeah, absolutely. And the I newspaper captures it on their front page today. Moment of truth for Reeves and the UK economy. And she's going to, it makes it clear, the two-child benefit cap is expected to be scrapped today. She's going to reward people who are on benefits. That's not rewarding entrepreneurs. It's not rewarding people who create jobs or businesses. It's not even rewarding those people, as you've said, who go out, get up early and go out to work. It's rewarding those who are having children, lots of children, and staying on benefits. And that is not an answer to Britain's woes.
Yes,
it's a real problem.
Labour appears to be the party of not working people, right? It just needs a little not before the word working there, because that is the truth of it, based upon these policies. Simon, do you feel that you were in the wrong party for all of those years?
Well, no. Well, when I joined the Labour Party, which is something like over 35 years ago, I think it was the right party for me to join. But what has happened since is that it's moved. The Labour Party is not the party of work, it's the party of worklessness. And instead of being tough on benefit cheats, instead of being tough on illegal immigration, instead of being tough on criminals, it's changed. It's completely changed. It's not the Labour Party that many people used to proudly vote for and join and support. And that's why I've left it, because it's not that party anymore. It's this party of this North London leftist Labour elite, and that's not what corresponds with the vast majority of people in the north where I come from.
Well, I agree. I don't think it's an accident that Blair won 3 landslides like Margaret Thatcher. It was a very different policy platform to the one that we've got now under this Labour government, which is far, far more left-wing than Blair ever was. Don't get me wrong, the Iraq War and opening the borders, changing Britain's constitution, an absolute disgrace by Blair. But overall, the economy grew. People were aspirational. They started businesses in the Blair years. You wouldn't do that now, would you? Good morning, says Pete in Aldershot. An alarm clock Brit here on a 12-hour taxi shift. A couple of points. Starmer, the worrying thing is he is the best option. The future will become much worse under Rayner or Miliband. Pete, you're right about that. Be careful what you wish for. Good morning, Mark and Simon, says Angie in Gloucestershire. Riddle me this. Why do working people pay tax on their income, but universal credit is not taxed? Now, that's not fair. I think the rot set in with Gordon Brown and the tax credit system. That's Angie in Gloucestershire. Worth pointing out, by the way, that those on benefits will get a pay rise today in line with inflation, but those working in the private sector will not.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Some of the people who've benefited from this Labour government are quite clearly in the public sector. There's no doubt about that. But if you're working in the private sector, it's absolutely tough, really tough. There's no doubt about that.
Good morning, Mark, says Richard. I'm a humble taxi driver. I started work at 2:30 a.m. So far, my takings are £40 after tax and expenses. I am skint. Richard, I mean, that stops you in your tracks, I've got to say, that you've been up since 2:30 a.m. That's not an early start, is it? That is the middle of the night. And so far, in all these hours, my maths aren't great, are they? 4 hours, 4.5 hours, you've been on duty in the middle of the night and you've taken 40 quid after expenses. It's not right. It's so wrong, Richard, and we've got your back. It is the alarm clock Brits that we represent today. What is your message to Rachel Reeves? This from Debbie. Good morning, Mark. I'm an alarm clock woman who lives alone, and I worry that I'm the last generation who can just about afford to live by themselves. I work for a car company, and in last year's budget, they took away our benefit in kind to have a car provided. That's taken out of my monthly wage. They're already destroying the car industry, but also penalise the alarm clockers who work for the car industry. Oh, Debbie, the car industry has been eviscerated, hasn't it? Net zero, I think you'll agree, Debbie, not happening, not helping. Steve says, good morning, Mark. I know that today is important and the butchering of our economy continues. However, we have Lammy attempting to take away our right to trial by jury, which has been our right for over 800 years. I fear once achieved, the lefty judges that have been installed will have a field day. Steve, you're so right. We're going to cover that in the next hour. Will there be any good news today, Simon?
It'll be interesting to see, won't it? I'm not sure if there will actually.
Couple of p off the price of a pint, because I could do with a drink.
Oh, absolutely. I suspect there won't be actually. They're not very helpful in many respects, are they? This Labour government. It'll be interesting to see whether she cuts anything at all.
Simon, we love having you on the show. We'll come and see us again soon. We'll play out with a voice note from Steve.
I just want Rachel to show me the money. Come on, Rachel. Show me the money. 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 Show me the money.
I can't add anything to that. Steve is in good voice this morning. Your message is to the Chancellor. This is Talk. Keep it coming.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I am Mark Dolan. It's coming up to 3 minutes past 7. Top of the morning to you. It is Morning Glory, a big 3 hours to come, and a nation awaits. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, addresses Parliament and the nation later today with her long-awaited and much-trailed budget statement. Will bring you expert opinion from across the political spectrum in an effort to anticipate just what is coming and how it will affect you. And our focus this morning are the alarm clock Brits, the people that get up in the morning, work hard, put a shift in and contribute more than they take out. Are you an alarm clock Brit? And if so, what is your message to Rachel Reeves today? Give me a call 0344 499 1000. Send the word talk and your message to 87222 or leave me a voice note. The platform is yours. Also breaking this morning, a leaked document seen by the Telegraph newspaper reveals that jury trials are to be scrapped for all but the most serious crimes. This from a Justice Secretary in David Lammy that in 2020, just a few years ago, said that jury trials are central to our democracy. So what are the implications for justice in this country? I'll speak to one of the country's top lawyers. And has Donald done it again? Is a Ukraine peace deal now in the offering? We'll get reactions stateside. And the Kevin Hollinrake Reform UK Nazi row continues. Should the Tory party chairman consider his position? I'll be asking the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Plus, the former Minister for Common Sense, Esther McVey, on the budget today, plus those changes to our justice system. And the king of political journalism, to break it all down, deconstruct it and drop some truth bombs, Trevor Kavanagh, live on the show. And at 9 o'clock, it is Dolan's Dispatch with my personal, rewritten Rachel from Accounts budget. I'm going to improve her budget. This is my budget statement. At 9 o'clock, you won't want to miss it. We'll get live reaction from Dame Andrea Jenkins. That's at 9. Of course, we're on the radio. You can listen to us on DAB+, in-app and online. You can watch the show as well. This is a TV show and it's a radio show. If you want to see the programme and all my amazing guests this morning, then just head to YouTube, search Talk, and up we pop. As the saying goes, let's talk. And at 7:05, let me bring you today's front pages. The Times newspaper, trial by jury only for the most serious crimes in Lammy reform. Reeves aims at workers, savers and pensioners. And very sad news, Richard Branson's wife has passed away at the age of 80. The Guardian newspaper, Reeves vows to tackle cost of living crisis in decisive budget for Labour. Jury trials to be scrapped for all but the most serious offences. And Nigel Farage faces fresh racism allegations from former classmates. Daily Mirror autumn budget vow, help is at hand. Chancellor tells Mirror there will be wage rises for millions of low-paid workers. Quickly neutralised by inflation, by the way, but of course Rachel is an accountant, or is it an economist? She'll know that. The Express, now Calamity Lammy wants to axe jury trials. Newspaper, moment of truth for Reeves and UK economy. The Sun newspaper, brace yourselves, here is Rachel Reeves's budget ledger. Taxes on work, pensions, houses, taxis, milkshakes, hotel stays and having fun all up. Tax on fuel, at least that's frozen. And last but not least for now, the Daily Mail. Budget we've all been dreading. Reeves faces chorus of condemnation for pricing young people out of work. Let's get reaction now from the former House of Commons Deputy Speaker, ex-Tory MP, Nigel Evans. Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning. How are you, Mark?
I'm very well. Lovely to have you on Morning Glory. It's budget day. Be afraid, be very afraid.
Yes, you were saying what was the message for Rachel Reeves. I call her the Grim Reaver, and I think we're going to see that displayed in Parliament today. I mean, why she needs to give a budget, because I've just read the Times and the Telegraph, and it seems to me they have in exquisite detail fairly well everything that she is going to announce, including the freeze on fuel duty, on petrol. So, I mean, this is quite alarming that we know so much about the budget even before it's given. And as you know, Mark, some kites were flown earlier, over a week ago, when it was suggested that she may even put up income tax. And there was fury at that suggestion. And so we have another leak that says that she's not going to increase income tax. But of course, what she is going to do, and this does affect every working family in Britain, is that the thresholds are going to be frozen yet again, which is going to drag a ton more people into paying tax, or paying lots more tax than they did before. So this is not going to be a great day for hardworking people in the United Kingdom.
Yes, in the course of this Parliament, that freezing of the tax thresholds could bring a further 9 million people into the higher rates. It's quite extraordinary numbers, Nigel. And as you say, this has been a long-trailed budget, with more U-turns than Maureen from driving school. This is an example, isn't it, Nigel, a heady mix of bad politics and bad economics.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said right at the start of the show, from milkshakes to lattes to people's savings, people who've got ISAs, apparently that's now going to be limited to £12,000 instead of £20,000. This freeze on the thresholds for hardworking families, the alarm clock Brits, people who do get up early in the morning. You had that taxi driver saying that he's been up working through the night and all he's made is £40. And yet people who have got 4, 5, 6 children are going to be the beneficiaries in the benefits bonanza that is also going to be announced. I mean, it does strike me as somewhat odd that when you are facing a black hole, the likes of which Rachel Reeves is facing, why you are considering putting up any benefits whatsoever or increasing any public spending does defy economic gravity.
Well, that's right. Benefit claimants are going to get a pay rise today in line with inflation. The millions of people that are in the private sector, many of whom watch this show and listen to this show, Nigel, will not receive such a pay rise. Mark in Norfolk has messaged the show, Nigel. He says, good morning. The people that make things happen in the real world in the UK are the small business owners and the self-employed. We are the carrot people and we need incentives. The fewer the incentives, the harder we work to pay less tax. What Rachel Reeves must do is establish policies such as worthwhile entrepreneurs relief. Any new business run for 3 years paying tax in a normal way, that gets to the end of year 3, enables the owners to take money out at 10%. That would grow the economy. But we will have, won't we, Nigel, no such business-friendly policies, which is ironic because Rachel Reeves wants growth.
Yeah, well, what she's seen is a growth in the number of people who are entrepreneurs who've got money leaving the United Kingdom. I was in Dubai last week to go and visit some of them, and it's hardly surprising that so many, I think the number is now 16,000 millionaires or more, billionaires, who have left the United Kingdom. And of course, they've been replaced by a lot of people who are not adding to the economy, who will now be being supported by this government and by this Chancellor of the Exchequer today. So none of the economics adds up whatsoever. You've got a ton of people who are entrepreneurs who've left the United Kingdom. They've taken their money with them, so they're not paying any tax whatsoever. And they're being replaced by a ton of people who are not adding to the economy. As I said, it defies all economic gravity whatsoever. It's going to be a very grim day, quite frankly, and it's not going to grow the economy whatsoever. It's not going to grow it at all. And I believe that there's going to be another increase in the minimum wage, which is going to hit a ton of employers. People are going to, they're already hard pressed. If you remember, we were told during the general election, and actually, Mark, none of this that we are hearing today was ever announced during that general election. If we'd heard any of this, there's not a chance that Keir Starmer would be in number 10 Downing Street. But the reality is we were told that we were going to have a Labour government that loves growth. And we've had everything quite the reverse of it. And we were told that there would be no increase in national insurance. And what did they do? They increased it on employers. So everybody's going to be walloped today. And I think what I put it down to a confusion in number 10 Downing Street, that Keir Starmer, he goes to Parliament, he sees this massive majority sitting behind him, and he confuses his majority with a mandate. He actually got 33.7% of everybody voting for him. That is not a majority to car crash the economy, which is what he's about to do again today.
Most definitely. We didn't know before the election about the digital ID plan. We didn't know about the Chagos Island sell-off. We didn't know about the tax rises, all of which have come to pass and for which we're paying a high price. And Nigel, today on Morning Glory, we are celebrating and representing and providing a platform for the alarm clock Brits, those who get up in the morning, put a shift in and contribute more than they take out, which is now, mystifyingly, half of the population, or even less than that. Paul is an alarm clock Brit, Nigel. He says, good morning, Mark. Up at 5 a.m, on the road at 6. It's -2, and I'm off to earn money for the lazy and the feckless. Why do I bother? That's Paul in Stoke. And Nigel, he speaks for millions.
Yeah. Before I became a member of Parliament, I ran, my dad died really young, and so I took over the convenience store that he had. I had to get up at 6 a.m, Mark, every day. I did it for 10 years, and open the shop shortly after 6 a.m. And we used to keep the shop running until 9 p.m. There are a lot of people out there who are doing those sorts of hours, working 7 days a week, in order to pay the taxation that Rachel Reeves needs to be able to pay the people who are, all right, some of them are absolutely genuine, that they are incapacitated and are unable to work, but it does seem to me that that figure has grown every year, and it's quite incredible, the number of people now who are out of employment whatsoever, not contributing to the economy whatsoever, but are in receipt of benefits, and that's got to change. It's got to change.
Well, I think it's a sick joke that Labour call themselves the party of working people. This is Orwellian doublespeak, isn't it? This is the same party that wants to grow the economy by shrinking it. And I read out a message earlier in the show, Nigel, from a chap, a listener to the show, who's been in his taxi since 2:30 a.m, right? So his alarm clock probably goes off at 1:30 a.m. That's not an early start, that's the middle of the night. And he's sitting in his cab. And by the time, after 4 hours of work, by the time that he's paid his taxes and his expenses, he's left with 40 quid. And therefore, you know, the messaging of this budget is one of the biggest problems, which is, you know, what's the point? Why would you bother?
Yeah, well, this week I was going to the airport, and I needed a lift very early in the morning. Taxi driver picked me up at 3 a.m. So the taxi driver who has contacted you is not alone. There are a huge number of people who set their alarms at very early times in the morning, who get out in order to do work, in order to basically look after their own families. And those are the people who are going to be hit. She says that she is helping hard-working people. Well, she's not going to be doing that simply by freezing those thresholds. It means because inflation's running at over 4%, it means that more hard-working families will be paying more taxation today. It's as simple as that, Mark. And none of this really adds up. And as I say, if only people had even had a sniff of what this Labour government was going to be like, there is not a chance that they would have been elected. And I think there are a lot of alarm clock Brits who will be listening to the budget today aghast and will be way worse off than they were at the beginning of the day. And the thing that they'll be looking forward to more than anything else is the next general election, when they can be sending a note to Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer saying, thank you very much. Not here, Keir, is really the reference for the British people, saying, we don't want you here, Keir. We love the fact that you go abroad. We'd love you to spend more time abroad and less time in the United Kingdom.
Yes, and if you disincentivise working hard and being an alarm clock Brit, let me tell you, this doesn't end well. What are you looking at? Basically communism, aren't you? Well, we have, in the last 24 hours, a fresh line from Rachel Reeves on a major pledge in regard to today's budget.
Today's budget will deliver on our promise of change. Cutting the cost of living, cutting hospital waiting lists, and cutting the cost of our national debt. Change was never going to come easy. It requires hard work and it requires fair choices. In the past year, we have begun to see the results. With wages rising faster than inflation, hospital waiting lists coming down, and our economy growing faster and stronger than people expected. But I know that there is more to do. I know that the cost of living is still bearing down on family finances. I know that people feel frustrated at the pace of change or angry at the unfairness in our economy. I have to be honest that the damage done from austerity, a chaotic Brexit and the pandemic were worse than we thought. But I'm not going to duck those challenges, and nor will I accept that our past must define our future.
Well, I'm afraid, Ms. Reeves, I don't think that Rich in Dudley agrees with you. His message to the show, he said, I was better off before I finally paid my mortgage off 8 years ago. I've worked from the age of 16 and never claimed a penny. I'm 58 now. Why did I bloody bother? That's Rich in Dudley. Nigel, just one thought before we let you go, and briefly if you can. It's unfair, isn't it, to exclusively lay this at the door of a Labour government that's only been in power for a year and a half. Would you accept that the legacy of this fundamentally is 14 years of Tory rule?
No, I certainly wouldn't, Mark. And if we remember the last general election, we had Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves and others going on the airwaves saying, we have fully costed everything out. There will be no need to raise taxes. And what they did last year, she raised taxes and she raised public spending. So she basically, it was a £40 billion attack on the economy last year. It won't be as much this year, but it's still going to be massive. So, no. And the reason why I discount her claim that she's blaming Brexit, she knew all about Brexit, blaming COVID, she knew all about that. So she knew the strengths of the economy, and they gave a commitment to the British people that they would not raise taxes. That is exactly what they're doing. The blame lies firmly in Downing Street, both at number 10 and number 11. She's got nobody to blame but herself.
Nigel, thoroughly enjoyed your company this morning. Please return to Morning Glory in the very near future and have a good Wednesday. Enjoy the budget if you can. It'll be like watching a horror film, won't it? From behind the sofa, Nigel Evans is a former Commons Deputy Speaker and ex-Tory MP. What is your message to Rachel Reeves today? This is Brent on the budget. Take it away, Brent.
Hi, Mark. Brent from South Yorkshire here. This Rachel Reeves budget is not going to be great, is it? There's been talk of raising the minimum wage, which sounds all good and well, but realistically, you're just going to be paying more tax than what you earn. It's going to cause employers not to be able to employ people. They're going to cut people's hours or just get rid of them completely because they're not going to be able to pay them. And then they'll just put more people on the welfare bill, which is already going up, which I have no idea why, because we're spending far too much on it. So something needs to happen drastically for the economy to sort itself out. But yeah, I'm very worried about this budget.
Good morning, Mark, says Simon in Middlesbrough. I am absolutely sick to death of watching my hard-earned money being wasted on people who think that they're entitled not to work and get aggrieved when called out on it. Simon in Middlesbrough. I'm joined live now on the show by Julie in Leicestershire. Good morning, Julie.
Oh, morning, Mark. Morning, Mark. I've run a small business for 35 years, took many risks and sacrifices. And you can't pay out what you can't afford. It's so basic, right? For any chancellor, you must cut the welfare bill. You can't increase it. It's making it worse. We're billions in debt. The chancellor should go into Parliament, face off the left, argue the case, offer a resignation if she has to. She may lose. The next chancellor has got to do the same. And that's it, simply. Her job is to grow the economy. That was the only job, really, and she's failed. She's not doing that. Businesses, large and small, are treading water. We can't afford more tax. Employment laws are too restricted as they are. We need encouragement, not discouragement, and there's too many distractions going on here. They're giving out little bits here and there and that. But there's too many distractions. The main issue is we're paying out what we can't afford. We're running up debt. Heavy. It's getting worse, not better.
Julie, you get it. I get it. Our viewers and listeners get it. Rachel from accounts does not get it. You're someone that's run a business, employed people, invested, paid your taxes, and the message from this government is we are going to clobber you. Julie, lovely to get your call. Thank you for chatting to us on Morning Glory at 21 minutes past 7. Very clear message from Julie there. This isn't working. We've got to shrink the welfare bill. We've got to incentivise business. We've got to have national growth. She's absolutely right. Keep those opinions coming. This is Morning Glory.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
24 minutes past 7, Morning Glory, Mark Dolan with you until 10 a.m. My alternative budget is today's Dolan's Dispatch at 9 a.m. with instant live reaction from Dame Andrea Jenkins, no less. Esther McVey, former Minister for Common Sense, joins us shortly as well. What is your message to Rachel Reeves today? This is Jess.
I have breaking news on the budget. I just wanted to let you know that it's been announced that Rachel Reeves has launched a GoFundMe page because she can't afford all the spending on the public sector. So, yeah, just wanted to let you know.
Absolutely brilliant news, Jess. We've filled the black hole. That is genius. She's done a GoFundMe, right? It's a little crowdfunder. That's how we manage the economy now. That's how we pay the bills. Jess, thank you for that much-needed moment of humour on this dark day, because it's budget day, folks. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Dave in the northeast has said, message to Rachel Thieves, call in sick today. You haven't got a clue. This government is the death of socialism. Thank God. Well, listen, we've got another story. Is it a good day to bury bad news? Because this is an exclusive in the Telegraph. Jury trials to be scrapped for the most serious crimes. David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, is to scrap jury trials for most crimes, despite previously arguing they are fundamental to democracy. In leaked documents seen by the Telegraph, the Justice Secretary, mastermind himself, has proposed that juries will only decide upon cases of murder, rape, manslaughter and other offences carrying sentences of more than 5 years. Well, here's a clip of David Lammy from 2020 saying something quite different.
The jury system is fundamental to our constitutional arrangement. We should not use the coronavirus as a cover to abandon juries, which is the opportunity to be judged by 12 of your peers. Juries being replaced by judges and magistrates is effectively the establishment, rather than your peers who live in your community deciding what justice should be.
Well, I'm delighted to welcome Quentin Hunt, who is a criminal defence barrister. And Quentin, welcome to Morning Glory. Is the scrapping of jury trials for most crimes an assault on British justice?
I believe it is. The situation is that the idea that jury trials are going to be curtailed has really only come about as a result of what many see as an economic necessity, rather than a proper assessment of what justice is.
But will it also even be successful? Will it tackle the backlog of cases waiting to be held?
Well, that's another point, because a trial will take as long as a trial takes.
Yeah.
And although jury trials can sometimes take a little longer than other trials in front of a judge, because juries need to deliberate, that really won't cut a lot of time off, because the evidence will take as long as the evidence takes. And as a barrister, I will conduct a trial before a judge in virtually exactly the same way as I would in front of a jury. And it would take virtually exactly the same amount of time, apart from when the jury are deciding their verdict. And the Crown Courts already use that time to fill in other cases that need to be put before the courts in an administrative capacity.
Quentin, what is the value that a jury brings?
Well, your clip from David Lammy touched on a very important side of things. That is that these are citizens, not state officials, making decisions. And they're citizens that are diverse. A jury is randomly selected. There is an inbuilt protection against bias inherent within taking 12 random citizens with their common sense experience and life experience and letting them decide on a fellow citizen's fate, because it's very important. People will go into prison as a result of these decisions. And the idea that the protection that a jury affords from bias, from any state interference, etc., should be eroded is a very serious step indeed.
Will it save much money?
Well, to be frank, I don't know the numbers. And it may be that they've decided that things can be done quicker, and it will be interesting to see how that would work in practice, because I don't believe it necessarily would.
I mean, it sets a precedent, doesn't it? How long have we had jury trials for? Centuries.
Well, absolutely, since the beginning of our justice system. And it's not as if jury trials are inherent for every single crime that comes before the courts. Already, more minor things like speeding, things like that, are what we call summary only offences. They can only be heard by magistrates. So there's already a sensible division where you can't take up a jury's time with something that is very minor. And there's no indication, in my view, that anything has fundamentally changed to enable the government to say, well, we're going to up that to, for example, crimes that merit up to 5 years imprisonment.
Does the motivation for this move go beyond economics? Could this be ideological?
I mean, there's a possibility. It seems to me, given David Lammy's very public statements about his belief in the jury system, that it appears that I wouldn't imagine that there is an ideological bent behind this coming from him. Whether in a wider government sense there is that push, I wouldn't be able to comment on, I'm afraid.
And it places more hands in the power of the judge. In what way can that be problematic, Quentin?
Well, I find, having practiced for over 25 years in both magistrates and Crown Courts, that magistrates who are used to hearing cases become, in my view, slightly jaded. The conviction rate on CPS published figures is greater in the Magistrates' Court. It's 71% rather than 56% in the Crown Court. And certainly when you look at issues of systemic, perhaps bias, the presumption perhaps in some Magistrates' Court cases that the police are always telling the truth doesn't come through as much in jury cases, in my experience. And when you're talking about crimes that attract a fairly significant sentence, you want to have that protection, in my view.
You do. Is there a concern around so-called activist judges as well? Judges with a political agenda that may influence outcomes?
I haven't had any experience of that. Anecdotally, some say that there is that sort of thing going on, but certainly I haven't seen anything along those lines, and it would be something that would have to be taken very seriously, because the fundamental principle of justice being separate from political decision making is something that is sacrosanct.
Do you think that if this policy happens, Quentin, that it will be irreversible? Is it a case of when it's gone, do you think?
I rather fear it is. I rather fear that once this, what would be a highly unpopular decision, will be made by a government, then future governments, if they see that there is some sort of a benefit economically in that they wouldn't have to spend as much on the justice system, may be slow to reverse it. I'd hope they wouldn't be, but I fear they would.
Quentin, deeply grateful for your time this morning. Quentin Hunt is a criminal defence barrister with the developing story, courtesy of The Telegraph this morning, that jury trials are to be scrapped for the vast majority of crimes. And I'll say that on the message board, you're not happy about this. Amanda says, regarding jury trials, how much lower can this government sink? It beggars belief how they are deliberately destroying the country. Chris says, good morning, Mark. Lammy dismantles the justice system by the back door whilst we're all preoccupied with Rachel and her thievery. Trial by jury is surely every citizen's right. And that is Chris in West Sussex, who is another alarm clock Brit. Are you somebody that gets up in the morning, sets your alarm, goes to work, puts in more than you take out? Because we got your back this morning. What is your message to Rachel Reeves? Send me a voice note, drop me a call, 03444 999 1000. More on this to come. This is Morning Glory.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
7:36. It is budget day. We're bringing you reaction from across the political spectrum. Morning Glory is there for the alarm clock Brits. Are you one of them? What is your message to Rachel Reeves? This is Craig.
Morning, it's Craig from Sheffield. I'm on my way to London for work. My daughter is on an apprenticeship. She's working in Sheffield. Last night I got a call at 9:30 saying that the bus hadn't pitched. There's been a shooting in Sheffield. The next bus was going to be an hour away, which meant she would have got to the junction in Rotherham at 11:30, and she would probably have had to walk home, which would have been another hour. So 12:30, she's up at 5 a.m. this morning to get to work. Tell me as a 19-year-old how she doesn't feel despondent if this is the way things are going. She's excited, she wants to work, she wants to get out there, she wants to start her career, she's trying to do the right thing, and her apprentice wage, by the way, is an absolute pittance for what it is. Some of her friends have taken the dole option.
Craig, I wish your daughter well. No doubt she's a big talent and a chip off the old block, but the incentives in this economy are so wrong, they're so perverse, which is why she's paying the price, along with most of us, let's be honest. We'll come back to this in just a moment, but some rare good news, and Ukraine appear to have accepted a peace deal brokered by Donald Trump, according to US officials. Has the orange one done it again? Has Donald Trump ended potentially the 9th war of his presidency in just a few months in office? Let's get the views of Heidi Hommel, who is a Qatar news reporter live in the United States. Good morning, Heidi.
Good morning, Mark.
Is it too soon to celebrate?
I think it might be. You know, I've been on Morning Glory a couple times to talk about this, and it appears that a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine has never been closer, but there's still some details that need to be worked out, namely the redrawing of the border in the Donbass region. Ukraine does not want to give up any land, and Russia is not willing to give up any of its advances. And Russia actually has the upper hand right now. Ukraine is running low on men, and they've got an air defense problem. And Russia continues to take land at a steady rate. So why would they stop now if it's President Putin's goal to take over all of Ukraine?
Most definitely. Donald Trump has kind of characterized himself, hasn't he, Heidi, as the Putin whisperer and a man who'll get a deal across the line. But the million-dollar question is whether the Kremlin really want peace.
Exactly. Do they really want peace? And if President Trump wants to put more pressure on Russia, then maybe he should give Zelensky the tomahawks he'd asked for.
Does Trump deserve credit for energizing the peace process? And will he get the credit if he wins peace in the days ahead?
Absolutely. Look, he got the credit for ending the conflict in the Gaza Strip and all the other conflicts he's ended. This really seems to be the last sticking point. And President Trump is quite friendly with President Putin, but he can't seem to appear to get him to agree to end the fighting there. What's it going to take? Putin really wants to, take over all of Ukraine. And even if a peace deal is brokered, is it going to be lasting peace? Any peace deal has to have guaranteed future securities for Ukraine, but Putin does not want Ukraine to become a part of NATO.
Is this sort of entire negotiation, is it an example of Trump's art of the deal? Has he deployed in the world of politics and international affairs what he did as an entrepreneur, do you think?
I think the art of the deal is about what we don't see President Trump talking to and talking about. It's really that's going to come out later on. What's it going to take for Trump to get Putin to agree to this? It seems like he's been strong-arming him for a while, yet he won't give Zelensky the tomahawks. So I don't know. I don't know if the art of the deal is going to work this time. For the people of Ukraine, sure hope it does.
We definitely hope it does. Before we let you go, thank you so much for joining us. It's quite late in the United States for you. Paramount, the film company, have reportedly agreed to release Rush Hour 4 after Donald Trump personally requested the revival of the action franchise. And I've got to say, one of my team here, Damien, is extremely excited about Rush Hour 4, as is the president by the looks of it.
Now that is the art of the deal, Mark.
That's it. I wonder what other sequels we want back. It's a very entertaining franchise, isn't it? Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Maybe Donald should get a cameo.
Oh, yeah, that would be something. And he's no stranger to the camera. So a cameo on Rush Hour 4, don't count it out just yet.
Heidi, let's hope that peace in Ukraine is coming. It would be great news for Americans and for Brits and the rest of the world, if we're honest. Heidi Hommel is the Qatar news reporter joining us live from the United States. Thank you so much, Heidi. Are you a alarm clock Brit? What is your message to Rachel Reeves on Budget Day? This is Steve.
Good morning, Mark. Steve from Northants here. Just heard you mentioning about Rachel Reeves standing next to a chessboard. Well, today could be checkmate for this country, my friend. Let's hope it's not, for the sake of everybody. Keep up the good work, pal. Cheers.
Nicely done. That's a quality line. Steve, top man, and thank you for the kind words about the show. Listen, we've got your back this morning, folks. Anybody that just gets up in the morning and contributes something, and it doesn't matter, even if you're on £6 an hour, you are working. That is the difference. And that's what the country needs. There's no future unless it pays to work. And whether you're at the bottom end of the economic ladder or at the top, your contribution is valuable, it's precious, and the message that you're getting from this government is you're not valued and we're going to take you to the cleaners, even if you are a taxi driver like my earlier caller, texter, who said that he's been going since 2:30 a.m. this morning. It's -1 outside. He's been in his cab for 4 or 5 hours and he's made 40 quid after his taxes and after Rachel's had her share. Gary in Scunthorpe, Gaz, says, good morning, Mark. I'm 57. I'm an amputee and registered disabled, but I still manage to get up every morning and go to work building houses. I'm sick of paying for the work shy. How about this from James? Good morning, Mark. I'm James up in Scotland, awaiting this budget to see what further Underhand taxation is on the way. My dad is 72. He's still relatively fit and works 40 hours a week at the age of 72. He took his pension 10 years ago, which he's taxed on at 48% as a second income. I'm at the stage, I wonder why I bother working overtime. Last month I worked an additional 68 hours and 44 Sunday hours. My deductions for the month were £3,400 in tax. I really wonder what the point is trying to better yourself. Well, listen, does Rachel Reeves survive this budget? I'll be asking the Sun's Trevor Kavanagh next.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
7:46, top of the morning to you. It is Morning Glory. I'm Mark Dolan with you until 10 o'clock. Coming up at 9 a.m, Dolan's Dispatch is my alternative budget. And I'll get live instant reaction from Dame Andrea Jenkins. That is at 9 a.m. So are you worried about the budget today? What is your message to Rachel Reeves? Good morning, Mark, says Sasha in Newcastle. How much longer can we go on like this? I feel that the government is rewarding poor behaviours and the hard workers are being punished. I work full time and always up at 5 a.m. to try and make a living. When will we get a break? And then very kindly she says, I hope you have a fab morning. Well, I've got a fab morning because I've got you with me, Sasha, and the army of alarm clock Brits that keep this country going. And that's why it's such a thrill to broadcast to you this morning as you get ready for work, as you're at the tail end of a work, a long overnight shift, whatever you're doing, we've got your back here on Morning Glory. A bit of much needed humour from Simon in Durham, who says, good morning, Mark. Just to let you know that I'm not an alarm clock Brit. At my age, a full bladder in the morning is all the wake-up call that I need. Simon, thank you for that much-needed humour. Well, will Rachel Reeves survive this budget? Let's get the views of the former political editor of the Sun newspaper, Trevor Kavanagh. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, Mark.
This is likely to be Rachel Reeves' last budget, isn't it?
Yeah, so last hurrah, and also the final nail in the economy, I think. Yes, I think that she's got a very difficult job to do and nothing to do it with. She's got no weapons, got no money. She's dug a huge 30 billion or 40 billion pound hole, which she needs to fill. And unfortunately, it's we taxpayers are going to have to fill it.
And as her career at number 11 teeters on the brink, Trevor, it's a problem for Sir Keir Starmer too, because Starmer and Reeves are seen very much as a double act.
Yes, I mean, unless some miracle is performed at lunchtime today, this is going to be a doom-laden budget, which will be seen as a series of panic measures from beginning to end to put right, if that such a thing is possible, all the blunders that have been made by this government in less than 18 months in office. The axe is already hanging over both Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, and they will go down together when they go. I mean, if indeed Rachel Reeves is seen to have been made a complete hash of it and cannot survive, nor can Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister.
And every Chancellor, Trevor, will get a free pass, won't they, on their first budget on entering office, but they won't get a free one for the second budget.
I'm not sure they get free passes at all. After all, this is big stakes they're playing for. They are playing with the prosperity of the British nation, the working chances of the British people, the livelihoods and prosperity of those people. And when the cost of food after the first budget starts to rise, when young people can't get jobs because of that budget, and when people are leaving the country literally in their droves, 16,000 a year, millionaires alone, then there isn't a second chance. There is no way she's going to be able to dig herself out of this self-created black hole any more than she did with the one that she blamed on the Tories.
It seems, Trevor, doesn't it, that she's got two audiences, left-wing Labour backbenchers and the international bond markets, two constituencies that are not very economically compatible.
No, and one is a little bit lunatic, and the other one is very wise and only operates on the basis of facts. And the facts, when it comes to our economy, are pretty bleak, and the money markets will be looking at those, not at the sentiment of the Labour left, who want to dish out money that they themselves haven't earned, but has been earned by the British working people, and hand out to causes that they regard as fair and balanced, which they aren't. So yes, this is a big test, and she will have to increase a lot of taxes across the board in a chaotic manner in order to show that she's going to raise the money that's going to save Britain from going bust.
Ultra-left-wing Labour backbenchers have thwarted even the most modest efforts to reduce public spending with the £5 billion proposal to tackle PIP payments for the disability benefits, all of it blackballed by Labour backbenchers. Have you ever known in all of your years of political journalism, Trevor, a government with such a healthy majority conducting itself seemingly with so little power?
Yes, well, no, is the answer to that, Mark, and nor is anybody else. It's never happened before, and the reason we've got this appalling situation is that the Labour Party is not a party. It is a coalition of conflicting interests, trade union interests, public sector interests, left-wing interests, which are purely, really, I think, there to sabotage the economy rather than to help us all get onto an even keel. And they are warring factions led by quite significant voices, Ed Miliband on his net zero, Rachel Reeves on her workers' reform and surrender to the public sector unions, and a few sane voices like those of Wes Streeting, who are calling for a balanced budget that gets rid of, or helps to begin to get rid of, our enormous debt, which is into the trillions.
Most definitely. Nick has messaged the show, Trevor. He says, good morning, Mark. Nick in Horsham, up again at 4 a.m. this morning to put in my shift to make some money to give my family the best life I can. I know the chancer of the extractor is going to mug my wage packet again today, but what she's not going to do is damp my spirits as I support the farmers and their protest in London. This is the big problem with the administration so far since the election in July of 2024, Trevor. It's the messaging to my viewers and listeners, which is if you get up in the morning, set your alarm clock, put a shift in, contribute more than you take out. If you do the right thing, you will be punished.
Yes, you have just quoted the typical reader, listener, who represents the voice that the Labour Party should always be wary of. It is those who do get up early in the morning. It is those who look across the street and see the windows with curtains drawn on the opposite side of the road where people who are not working or in benefits are still in bed as they head off to work very hard for not very much money in order to keep a roof over their head and food on the table for their family. And they are the voters who are deserting Labour in their droves. They are not being listened to. They are the working classes that Labour used to represent and are now in a state of rebellion.
Of course, a year and a half is not long within the economic cycle, is it, Trevor? Is there a defence to be made for this Labour government that they inherited a right royal mess from the Conservatives?
There are elements of truth, but mostly exaggerated. I think that Rishi Sunak, for all his failures in other areas, was indeed getting the economy back on an even keel. There was a big hole, but it was created mostly by unforeseeable events like COVID, and it was gradually being filled. But it was simply used as a pretext by the incoming Labour government to dish out huge amounts of money to the trade unions, who immediately marched and demanded above inflation pay rises. Now that has to end, and it isn't at the moment. The doctors are still at it, but you know the Labour Party is dependent entirely on the trade unions for their support, financial and otherwise, and they will continue to cave into them.
Another message, Trevor. Brian says, good morning, Mark. I'm 70 years of age, worked all my adult life and still having to put a shift in because of this horrid government and previous administration's treatment of pensioners. So please tell those Gen Z lazy so-and-sos not all pensioners are rich. And Trevor, the elephant in the room in today's budget will be government spending and the size of the welfare state. And the vast majority of my viewers and listeners are furious at the fact that they feel they're working hard and being taxed to bankroll the lives of those who don't work.
Well, absolutely right, and justifiably so. When you have 9 million people of working age who are not working and are on work-related benefits, and you have 1 million young people who can't find jobs, there's something drastically wrong with the way the mechanism of our economy is being adjusted by this Labour government. They seem to be throwing hurdles in the way of everything in the way of advancement. The net zero crusade is deindustrializing this country, which is killing jobs, of course, in the process. And everywhere, the two-child benefit cap, which is only going to cost $3 billion, but you could do a lot with $3 billion, is purely a sop to those voters who do not believe in birth control for cultural or religious reasons. It is a bribe to the Muslim voter.
Wow, never heard it characterised like that before, Trevor, but given the depth of your political knowledge, I think it rings true. Trevor, last but not least, Daily Telegraph exclusive, jury trials scrapped for most crimes. Is this a good day to bury bad news?
No, I think we'll look back on this one day as a very dark day for British justice, which pioneered jury trials. And while they're never perfect, they're the best way of getting to a fair trial where justice is seen to be done. And I think that we will find that there will be mistrials and people going to jail for things that they should not have been jailed for, or found guilty on offences for which they're innocent, simply because of this measure, which is a cost-saving measure by a desperate government.
Trevor, always a privilege to have you on the show. Look forward to your reaction to the budget as it plays out in the days ahead. Trevor Kavanagh is the former political editor of the Sun newspaper. Well, if you're just joining us at 7:57 in the morning, it seems to be a good day to bury bad news. With everyone focused on Rachel Reeves's budget statement at lunchtime, the Telegraph can reveal that jury trials are to be scrapped for most crimes. Any crime that wins a sentence of less than 5 years will be decided by a judge. Is this a problem? Bernie is in Surrey. Good morning, Bernie.
Good morning, Mark. Very nice to speak to you.
First of all, Bernie, what do you make of the timing of this? That they've leaked this news on Budget Day?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No question that has to be deliberate. I mean, it is it's such a big move. I tweeted on it late last night, actually, when I first read it. It's a serious issue because one thing that separates us, quite apart from the historical thing that's been for whatever it is, 800 years, 900 years we've had this, it's the one thing that can prevent bad laws from being implemented in fact. It's the one thing that separates us from the effective totalitarian regime, because if a bad law is passed by Parliament, the jury can effectively overturn that bad law in practice when somebody is up in front of that jury. And if you look at some of the things that have happened with people being put in prison for tweets, a jury would not have stomached those. If it had gone to a jury trial, they'd have acquitted them. And so it's not only a question of the application of criminal law, but it's also a question of the application of laws that are simply unfair or wrong, which a jury that is sovereign can effectively overturn laws that Parliament have made, and that becomes case law. So this is hugely important. It's a massive issue, and is one that is so open to abuse by future governments, or this government. And I think that it's a problem-reaction-solution scenario whereby I'm not even convinced that the last government wasn't moving in the same direction, and it's all coming from the same direction. So this is something that people need to think about really quite seriously, to the extent it's ever has any impact. This is something that needs to be petitioned and stopped. And the notion that the Justice Secretary can do this fundamental change in our laws without going to a referendum or without it being debated in Parliament is abhorrent, absolutely abhorrent.
Welcome to this Labour government, Bernie. A very important and articulate call, Bernie in Surrey there. A dark day for British justice, says Bernie. What's your message to Rachel Reeves on Budget Day? Are you an alarm clock Brit? I want to hear from you. This show belongs to you. This is Morning Glory.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is
8:03, this is Morning Glory. I'm Mark Dolan. A big 2 hours to come. A nation awaits. The Chancellor Rachel Reeves addresses Parliament and the nation later today with her long-awaited and much-trailed budget statement. We'll bring you expert opinion from across the political spectrum in an effort to anticipate just what is coming and how it will affect you. And our focus this morning are the alarm clock Brits, the people that get up in the morning, work hard, put a shift in and contribute more than they take out. Are you an alarm clock Brit? And if so, what is your message to Rachel Reeves today? Give me a call, 03444991000, send the word send the word talk and your text to 87222, or leave me a voice note. This platform is yours this morning. Also breaking this morning, a leaked document seen by The Telegraph reveals that jury trials are to be scrapped for all but the most serious crimes. This from a Justice Secretary in David Lammy, mastermind himself, who just a few years ago said that jury trials are central to our democracy. So what are the implications for justice in this country? I'll speak to a top lawyer. And is today a good day to bury bad news? Why has this been leaked on Budget Day? And has Donald done it again? Is a Ukraine peace deal now in the offing? We'll get reaction to that. And as the Kevin Hollandrake Reform UK Nazi row continues, should the Tory chairman consider his position? Looking forward to some common sense this morning from the former Minister for Common Sense, Esther McVeigh, fearless barrister Stephen Barrett, and your calls and text notes. A very, very busy 2 hours to come. Dolan's Dispatch is coming. And I've got some truth bombs for Rachel Reeves with instant reaction after Dolan's Dispatch at 9 o'clock from Dame Andrea Jenkins. A busy show, as the saying goes. Let's talk. And we'll kick off the hour with a voice note from Mike and his message to the Chancellor.
Morning, Mark. Great show as usual. I'd like to say something. How dare you? How dare you, Rachel Reeves? How dare you, Keir Starmer? How dare you, all the backbenchers? How dare you, in the name of socialism that has never worked? What about all the bad deals? Chagos being given away, money that we're squandering there. This government needs to go, and I really fear that this country has gone down so far down the pan that there won't be a comeback, no matter who comes in. And for that reason, I'm taking my investments and I'm having to leave. And I'm a guy that served this country. I did not serve it for this.
That is a damning indictment at 8 in the morning. Mike has invested, he's got capital, he's taken risks, he's grown businesses, and he wants to up sticks and go as many thousands will join him. Let's get reaction now from Richard Fuller, the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, Mr. Dolan.
Would you be kind enough to offer me your alternative budget?
Well, we did that out of our conference earlier this year, where we said that the Chancellor has some choices, and we outlined policies of 47 billion of reductions in public expenditure and some changes to taxation, such as relieving business rates on our hospitality industry and removing stamp duty. So there's that option available for the Chancellor. But of course, the Chancellor isn't going to do that. What she's going to do is she is likely to appease Labour backbenchers rather than listening to real people like Mike, who is saying, you Chancellor, how dare you? That was the phrase that he used. How dare you, Rachel Reeves, do what you are doing? And he is upping sticks and moving overboard and taking with him the tax revenues that his probably very successful business pays in, meaning that the rest of us have to pay more in tax.
Do you take responsibility, though, Mr. Fuller, for the fact that the explosion in the welfare state, the deficit, the national debt, and the economic woes of this country are a legacy of your time in power?
Well, I think that there are two parts to that. First of all, going way back to 2008 with the financial crash, when the coalition government came in, there was a lot of extra borrowing by the previous government, a massive deficit that we went through a long period of restraint in public expenditure to deal with. And then you're right, there was an expansion of state spending, and that was to do with the response to COVID and then the response to the increase in inflation and energy prices caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So there were issues there, and the then Conservative government sought to deal with it under Rishi Sunak by increasing taxes. So that is right. But where we are now is different. Last year, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, said that she had wiped the slate clean, that she had assessed all of that, and she had made the difficult, she called them difficult decisions, and that then she said, as we all know, I'm not coming back for more. And now here we are, just over 12 months later, the Chancellor has blown the budget again, and it's going to be working people that are going to have to pay. Look out in this budget later today, Mr. Dolan, for the choices the Chancellor makes. Is she going to be trying to appease the Labour backbenchers? Is she going to try and make sure that her position in Keir Starmer is more secure with the far left? Or will she be looking out for working people and not raising taxes, but looking to pare down on welfare spending and public expenditure? This year, it's all on her, not on anybody else. It's all on her.
And it puts paid to the idea that she'd somehow inherited a black hole, given the fact that she's now got a black hole of roughly £30 billion, which is self-inflicted, Mr. Fuller, and the small matter of an extra £15 billion in welfare payments that probably won't even be mentioned in this budget.
Exactly. You mentioned just earlier on that today for you, this is about alarm clock Britain. These are people who go out and do a good day's work, hard day's work, so they can put food on the table for their families, maybe save a little bit for their retirement, maybe put some money aside for a holiday for themselves and their kids. And here we have a Chancellor saying that she's not interested in that. No, what her priority is to put more welfare giveaways, when in fact what she should be doing is looking at that welfare bill and saying this has got out of control. There are some levers we can pull that won't affect benefits for those who really need them, but starts to wrestle with some of the things that can actually achieve some reduction in other areas. We outlined those, the Conservatives outlined those at the conference. She can do that. I don't think she is, Mr. Dolan. So alarm clock Britain, in your phrase, they're the people who are going to be hurt hardest by this Chancellor's decisions later today.
You are the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, and of course that is the figure at number 11 that really crunches the numbers and has to make sure that the spreadsheet adds up. Is there a possibility that the markets could react very badly to today's budget? Is Britain conceivably at risk of some kind of economic correction or crash in the days and weeks ahead?
This is an important point. The Chancellor last year went on a massive borrowing splurge, and remember, the government spends more than it brings in taxes, and when you do that and you ask people to lend you money, and then when you put even more pressure by trying to borrow more, trying to pare down on borrowing, then you are at risk that those people who lend you the money, the bond markets, will have a view about your credibility. And I'm afraid that this rather disastrous prelude to this budget, this kite-flying season the Chancellor has indulged with. I think even the Speaker of the House of Commons called it a hokey-cokey budget, and he's totally impartial. That has put more pressure on the scepticism in the bond markets, the people who will lend money to the British government, about whether they're prepared to price the amount of interest that they ask us, the government, to pay at the same level. So yes, I think the Chancellor will have to look out, and I'm sure your listeners and viewers will look out later today to what is the impact the Chancellor's decisions have made on interest rates that ultimately feed through to how much people pay on their mortgages.
Richard Fuller, good to have you on the show. Look forward to your return to Morning Glory in the near future. Richard Fuller is the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. He makes some good points. Some of the policies outlined by the Conservatives at the conference this year in October were very, very positive indeed. But is it too little too late? Is anyone listening to the Conservatives now in regard to the economy? And are you an alarm clock Brit? What is your message to the Chancellor? Geraldine says, good morning. I'm a single parent with 4 children. I get up every morning at 6 a.m, get my children up, feed our cat, rabbit and chickens. Then at 7 a.m, get in my cold van to get on site by 8 a.m. This morning's first job is working outside, changing a light in this freezing weather. If I can do it, then many others can that are using children as an excuse to stay in bed on benefits. And the same goes for the immigrants. Cut benefits, get them all working. Benefits should only be for a limited time until work is found. Jane says, message to Rachel, clear off and take Sir Cardboard and the rest of them with you. Roland, good morning. Mark, as a night worker at 63 years of age, I'm one of those night Arctic drivers, articulated truck drivers, running important medical supplies. My shift begins at 6:30 and will end at 8 the following morning. And then maybe 10 hours rest and back again, 5 days a week to get my 60 plus hours as an HGV driver. And then ironically, Roland says, thanks, Rachel. Thanks, but no thanks. Hi, Mark, says Don in Chelmsford. Nightmare on 11 Downing Street has a sequel coming out today. Nightmare on Downing Street 2. You're absolutely right. This is the most anticipated sequel since The Hangover, and we will have a hangover from this, will we not? More reaction. Do you know what we could do with? We could do with some common sense. We're going to get Esther McVey. She's on next, right? Former Minister for Common Sense. Before that, shall we take a montage of some of the finest voice notes from Morning Glory in the last 24 hours of Alarm Clock Brits? Take it away.
I'm one of the alarm clock people. I get up at anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30, and now I'm going to be paying more tax towards people who are sat on the backsides doing nothing and earning a living for doing absolutely diddly squat. Sometimes I just wonder, what the hell am I bothering for?
I'm one of the alarm clock people. I'm off to work now. It's 5 to 7. I've been up since 5:30. I'm going to work to earn a few shekels to pay for all the hotels and all the benefits that people are claiming.
I run a garden room business. I'm up at 5 every day. Don't go to bed till probably 10, 11 every night. Got multiple jobs on, busy, pay silly amounts of tax. For what? For what?
I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning. I do never less than 12 hours a day, but I have customers that have never worked a day in their lives. That's what annoys me. I don't have a problem in working hard. I've got principles.
Yes, I'm an alarm clock Brit. 3:30 my alarm goes off. I'm out the house by 4:15.
I was one of them that had the annoying alarm clock go off this morning at 4:15 to be on the road for 5:30, to do an 11-hour day, to earn pittance. By the time Rachel Reeves has got her fingers on everything, you do sometimes sit there and think, what's the point?
There's just no end, mate. There's no end. I'm all legit. I do my tax return. I've got my UTR number. They always find a way of taxing me at the end of the year, even with what I've had to pay out. Yeah, I'm thinking of going on the dole, mate. Sod it.
And who could blame you? Jason in South Wales. Good morning, Mark. I'm an alarm clock Brit, up at 4 a.m. every morning, doing 12-hour shifts and just about surviving. Here she comes again, attacking the working people because she managed her money so badly. I've got the perfect solution for that issue. Stop wasting billions on illegal immigration. Problem solved. It ain't rocket science to figure it out. Great show, by the way. Thank you, Jason. Carl says, my message to Rachel from accounts is, before you screw us, at least buy us dinner first. That's a great idea. I think it would be nice if we could go to a Toby Carvery or Wetherspoons and get dinner on Rachel. Phil says, good morning, Mark. Happy budget day. Phil in Coventry here. Do you think Robber Reeves will be wearing a highwayman mask today? That's a great question. What's your message to the Chancellor? Keep it coming. Next up, former Minister for Common Sense, Esther McVey. God knows we need that.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
"19 minutes past 8, this is Morning Glory. Your message to Rachel Reeves on Budget Day. This from Chris. Good morning, Mark. I'm an alarm clock Brit. So if the minimum wage goes up today, I can now see more strikes regarding pay. People wanting pay rises. The country's now screwed. Get this lot out. Haven't got a clue. I'm an HGV worker during the week, 55 to 60 hours, then a DJ at the weekend. You need 2 jobs just to make a living." And more of your messages to come. Let's get reaction or indeed an anticipation of today's budget from the former Minister of Common Sense, the Conservative MP, Esther McVey. Esther, welcome to Morning Glory.
Morning.
Will there be any good news in today's budget?
Well, we seem to have heard most of the budget and there doesn't appear to be any good news there at all. And I tell you one thing, Rachel Reeves would be best to listen to some of the comments of your viewers and callers today to Alarm Clock Brits. I think it's been incredibly sobering to hear how hard everybody is working. And this notion of fairness is something that Rachel Reeves has forgotten altogether. And it seems to me that she's doing a budget for her survival, to get her backbenchers on board, and not for the hard-working Brit survival, the country's survival, and the growth of this country.
And it seems, Esther, that the real problem in this forthcoming budget, and really the messaging throughout the year and a half of this administration, is that it doesn't pay to work. Why would you bother setting your alarm? Why would you take risks? Why would you borrow money on your property to start a business?
Well, that's exactly right. People are saying, oh, if you're on the dole, you're getting far more, whether that's support for your kids, whether that's, a paycheck, whether that's they're looking at the Motability scheme, a better car. What is the point of going to work? And I would say this Labour government and this budget is anti-growth, anti-aspiration, anti-success, and I'd also say it's anti-fun. I mean, what is the point of doing a couple of extra hours if you're now going to move up into a higher tax bracket, as they're keeping those thresholds the same? What is the point of putting an extension on your house to make your house better if what's going to happen is you're going to go into, again, some sort of higher tax bracket, some mansion tax? And what is the point? You can't have fun under this government if sugary drinks are taxed, vaping's taxed, going out's taxed, alcohol's taxed, and then you want to get a taxi home at the end of the night, and that is going to be taxed. I'm afraid this government is sucking the life and the fun out of all of us.
And it doesn't pay to work, does it? Simon, Esther, has messaged the show and said, "Good morning, Mark. I set my alarm for 4:30 a.m. to get up to drive my wagon miles and miles every day, doing 13 to 15 hours, working weekends, also having a day off through the week. Knackered 58-year-old, paying for the work shy and immigrants." That's the other issue, isn't it? I mean, the cost of accommodating illegal immigrants, people that shouldn't have entered this country in the first place, is now upwards of £10 billion a year. So the small amount of tax that Simon pays to the Exchequer from his hours on the road don't even touch the sides.
It's who is this government prioritising? And at the moment, it's not prioritising the workers and the hard-working people who are the backbone of the country and pay for everything. They are prioritising, whether it is illegal migrants, prioritising people who are on benefits, and the rest of us are being treated like mugs. And come a bit later on today, we will all be mugged as she takes more money off us.
In fairness, though, and the painful truth, Esther, is that this something-for-nothing country happened on the watch of the Conservatives, didn't it? Because it was, of course, in the course of 14 years that the welfare budget grew and the disincentive to work began.
I think there's different phases within the 14 years in office. And I would say the phase that I was in at the beginning actually was when we were doing all the welfare changes as we were recovering from the economic sort of financial or global crash. And that's when I was working with Ian Duncan Smith, and we absolutely sort of revolutionised the benefit system, and we were getting 1,000 more people into work each and every day. We ended up getting record employment, turning around those youth unemployment figures, and we ended up having the least number of workless households on record.
Well, I remember, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to big you up, Esther, because I think the coalition government was underrated. And they created, the coalition government shrank the size of the public sector, got rid of those public sector jobs which exploded under Gordon Brown. Did you know the coalition created 1 million jobs in the course of that parliament?
Yes, and that's what I was part of those group of people. And this was a fairness, because it was very much about how do we make sure everybody feels they've got a stake in society. You'd say, look, we're all in this together, and who is going to go forward, and we're all fighting for, you know, the country, making it a better place, making sure that, you know, if you work hard, you do well. So that was that. Now, where I felt it all seemed to go horribly wrong, and this was during lockdown. So if you look at the explosion of people on benefits, it's pretty much from 2020 onwards. And that really, it's been very difficult to recover from. But you remember at the time, I was one of the few people to say, lockdown will be a disaster. How are we going to afford it? What's going to happen with, well, I don't know, children, mental health, people getting out of a work ethic? And we're recovering from that. What I will say is, I think, and I think people, or, you know, history will look back probably slightly more fondly on Rishi when they see what he was doing at the end of his tenure. He was bringing inflation down. He was bringing interest rates down. He was turning that economy round slowly. You know, what happened when Labour came in? They went on some sort of spending bonanza, whether it was public sector pay, whether it was creating more quangos like GB Energy, whether it was this disastrous net zero sort of religion that they believe in, and they chuck money at that, and then they've realised, oh my goodness, and that's why people talk about this doom loop now. They put too much tax on businesses, too much tax on the individual, and, you know, it's not bringing more money into the coffers. It's now shrinking what's coming into the coffers. And sadly, Rachel Reeves is just woefully out of her depth. And she thinks you can keep squeezing people for more money. And it doesn't work like that. That's what happens with every socialist government, as Margaret Thatcher used to say. You run out of everybody else's money.
Yeah, and I think it's a heady mix, isn't it? We've had the sort of rolling the pitch for an increase in income tax, then that didn't happen. More U-turns than Maureen from driving school. So you've had that sort of long build-up, all the leaks, all the speculation, and then the bad policies. It's a horrible, heady mix of bad politics and bad economics by the looks of it. A view shared, Esther, by Martin, who says, good morning, Mark. I dropped my son off at work at 6:30 a.m. He's 18, and he's got the pride in working and earning his own money. What incentive does he have to continue working with this bunch of clowns destroying the country? I really do worry for his future and that of my daughter. That's Martin in Wiltshire. And it is a concern, young people, isn't it? Because this expected hike in the national minimum wage is likely to provoke an increase in youth unemployment, Esther, and there's nothing more important than school leavers and graduates getting out there into the world of work and getting used to working.
And we've seen this already, that the number now of young people not in education or employment has gone up to 1 million. You've seen under this government, unemployment has gone up every month that they have been in office, and unemployment now has hit 5%. And it starts with your first job. We've got to say to young people, you know, there are opportunities out there, and it's more than a job. It is about succeeding. It is about opportunities. It is about what the working world can give to you. And this is so important. And that is about independence. It's about self-sufficiency. It's about achieving the things you always want in life, whether that's money, cars, holidays, girlfriends. This is what it's about. That's why benefits can only give you so much money, but it closes down your avenues in life. It is jobs fulfilling your potential that expands your horizons. And that's what this socialist, statist government is forgetting. We need all of this ingenuity of our population.
The headache you have, Esther, however, is that my viewers and listeners, a good number of them, maybe the majority, aren't really listening to the Conservatives anymore on the economy. They're looking to Nigel Farage and reform.
And I think after we got, which we did, the Tonkin at the last general election, it does take a while for people to want to listen to you. It takes a while to regain people's trusts. What they remember is, I think, those last couple of years under lockdown, the mistakes that were made, and you cannot deny that. However, I believe that Kemi and the Conservative Party are now going back to, I would say, our roots, our conservative ways. To me, we weren't conservative enough at the end, and we need to find that. And that's where you say it's a finely tuned economy, and you need to support workers, not those on benefits. We need to bring taxes down. We need to make sure that we're supporting businesses, whether that's farmers, family businesses. We need to get rid of those ridiculous taxes. We need to support people getting onto the housing ladder, getting rid of the stamp duty. And I think there's a whole host of things we need to do. And then you need to explain how it's being paid for. And fundamentally, that will be getting people working and people off benefits. And you could say, we've done it before and we need to do it again. And it will need to be turbocharged. And most of all, stop this immigration. And I'm glad Kemi's taken a stronger line that some of us believed in before. Get rid of out of the ECHR, get rid of that ridiculous Tony Blair Human Rights Act. But you have to do it. And you have to show how you're going to do it. And I think that's important as well. Not words, how and who is going to deliver it.
Esther, I know you've got to run. Just before you go, a message from Amanda, who says, "Good morning, Mark. I see that Rachel Thieves is also blaming Brexit. At this point, I'm surprised that she hasn't blamed the Roman invasion." We need to talk about this, don't we? Because she's suddenly decided that Brexit was a problem, Trump's tariffs, other global headwinds. Well, she knew about those, supposedly, when she was preparing for power.
She did know all about them. That's why in her first budget, when she also talked about the black hole that she was given as well, she said this was going to be, which it was, the highest tax-raising budget on record. So she borrowed and she raised taxes because this was going to fix the foundations. We were going to get growth from here on in. It didn't happen. She then had to give a statement in the spring, and she's now back with this one. Now, what she's got to realise is she is destroying the economy, but she's looking to blame everybody else. Like you say, whether it's Brexit, whoever it is. I just said we go back to Boadicea and the Romans before you know it. No, she needs to take responsibility herself in what's going wrong.
Well, I think, Esther, you are a modern-day Boadicea yourself. Fearless, bold, strong vision, no nonsense. If only you'd been, the Chancellor in the last few days preparing this budget statement. Esther, we'll catch up soon. Send my best to Phil as well. Esther McVey is the former Minister for Common Sense, Conservative MP. Are you an alarm clock Brit? What is your message to Rachel Reeves? This from Malcolm.
Morning, Mark. It's Malcolm. Got up at 6 o'clock, driving 4 hours to do a site visit, construction site visit, and then staying overnight because it's too much in one day, and then coming home tomorrow. I've got my own business. It does sort of, it makes your eyebrows raise with the ideas of more tax for all the hard work I'm putting in, because I've got 2 teams calls in between that 8-hour journey there and back. And I've got to do a load of work for other projects, so it's going to be something like a 12-hour day, but hey, it's my business. I don't know how long it's going to be my business for, because Rachel Reeves and the Labour Party seem to justify doing nothing, not getting up early. I mean, the people she's going to be benefiting ain't even up yet, like you or like me or like all the rest of the people that are phoning in are still in bed because they can afford to be, and they're also going to get a pay rise today. Just a bit sick of it all, really.
That is sick. I mean, there's no other word for it, Malcolm. Thank you so much for that voice note. Do so again soon. Really, it's just not part of the show. The show is what you think and how you're feeling today, and that is the focus. By the way, it's all about opinions as well, and we look at everything 360. And a very important text from Jennifer, who says, "Good morning, Mark. I just want to say there is another side to Alarm Clock Brits. My sister gets up every morning between 3 and 4 a.m. every single day due to chronic pain. In fact, she doesn't need an alarm clock. Her body dictates it. She's worked all her life. She's now 51, but her health has let her down. I can tell you her mental health has suffered dreadfully due to no social or people interaction now that she's housebound. It's most definitely not fun having to be on benefits, and I know that she would rather be working any day of the week. I just wanted to say that this is important, as not everyone chooses a benefits lifestyle." Jennifer, you're so right. That's the point about the welfare state, is my viewers and listeners, I think you don't have a problem, do you, paying your taxes so that someone that's chronically ill, who's not able to work, is taken care of. I don't think we mind that. It's people that have got stress and they've got whatever, some kind of mental health issues and anxiety or allergies or other such nonsense. That's what you don't want to pay for, and you don't want to pay for the accommodation of people that have entered the country illegally who shouldn't be here in the first place. Jennifer, you're so right. There's no issue with those on benefits who deserve it. Remember, safety net, not lifestyle choice. And in the case of your darling sister, it's most definitely not a lifestyle choice. We wish her well. And folks, so much more to come. Jury trials to be scrapped for most crimes. Has David Lammy just destroyed British justice? That's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Morning Glory, and a big reaction to our discussion about Rachel Reeves. Of course, it is budget day. We're bringing you full analysis. We're anticipating what is coming. We're not looking forward to the budget statement at 12:30. Cliff in Berkshire says, good morning, Mark. I was an alarm clock Brit. I put in my years and paid a fortune in tax and national insurance over my working lifetime. But now my pension is called a benefit. It's not. I paid for it, says Cliff in Berkshire. It goes on and on and on. I could spend the rest of the show reading your text, and it would give me great pleasure. Peter in Suffolk, good morning, Mark. My wife and I spent 50 years earning a living and making provision for our retirement. Now our savings are being targeted by Reeves because apparently we're not working people. Of course not, Peter. If you're aspirational, if you put the hours in, you're the enemy. Speaking of which, can we talk about our justice system and whether someone's at war with that? Because according to the Daily Telegraph, jury trials are to be scrapped for most crimes. David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, is to scrap jury trials for most crimes, despite previously arguing they were fundamental to democracy. In leaked documents seen by the Telegraph, Lammy has proposed that juries will only decide upon cases of murder, rape, manslaughter and other serious offences carrying sentences of more than 5 years. Well, why has this happened? And is today a good day to bury bad news? Let's speak to Stephen Barrett, who is a barrister and very successful writer on Substack. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning.
Stephen, what are the implications of most trials being processed without a jury?
It's the most egregious attack upon our Constitution that anybody's done in hundreds of years. The right to trial by jury is 810 years old. It's so well established. It's often considered the foundation of our democratic freedom. Together with the right to vote, it's the most important right we have. And this government is apparently just going to brazenly destroy that, despite never putting that in its manifesto and in fact lying to us and telling us that it really valued trial by jury, which is probably the worst part of this. The salt on the wound is the fact that David Lammy publicly declared how much and how important trial by jury is. It is incredibly important, and yet they are apparently going to throw it away. This is the step towards dictatorship, and there's no other way to put that. And it's not. And I hope I'm not coming across as particularly animated or melodramatic, because there is no other way to describe the loss of trial by jury. It is as important as losing the right to vote.
And why is a jury trial a barrier to sort of autocracy? What is the value of a jury in relation and in comparison to, let's say, a judge?
So we do still have the finest judges in the world, broadly. But judges are human beings like anyone else. And the minute you have criminal trials by a single individual who is employed by the state, who is promoted by the state, whose future career success depends upon the state, whose salary is paid by the state, whose pension in the future will be paid or not paid by the state, you start to see that it is impossible, just impossible, to have such a human being be in any way objective or in any way fair. And that's why we invented juries 810 years ago. Humans don't change. Humans are not different. That this is one of the reasons why racism is so absolutely absurd. Humans are consistent in how we behave. And 810 years ago, we realized you cannot have one man or woman employed by the state deciding whether or not what you are saying is true. Instead, we have juries, which is the 12 human being system, which is even if imperfect, is so much better than one human being employed by the state. You simply cannot have this. It will immediately descend into communist-style show trials. There is no way to avoid it. I actually, because we do have good judges, I sincerely doubt they want this power, because it just is so inherent inherently corrupting, that it cannot end well, it will not end well. Goodness knows what Labour thinks it's doing. We have a human rights prime minister destroying our most important human right.
Is a reasonable defence that there are over 80,000 cases still yet to be heard, that this is about tackling the backlog?
No. No, we're a population of nearly 70 million, probably over 70 million if we actually bothered to count how many of us there are. 80,000
You've got to put the boats in.
Yeah, exactly.
Round it up a little bit.
Yes, just to do the counting, which they don't bother to do. 80,000 is a pathetically small amount by anybody's standards. And in any event, they've allowed this backlog to build up. They don't we have courts in this land which we pay for to heat and light, but we don't actually bother to put a judge in them every day. We don't bother to put a jury in them every day. We have them sitting idle. We could quite easily have dealt with this backlog in an entirely different way. And the backlog has been built up because, as your listeners and viewers know, the prison service doesn't work and we don't really have enough prison spaces. So the backlog is helpful to any government of any type, be it, however it's composed by a political party, because it doesn't necessarily bring the prison system to a grinding halt. So the backlog is simply a practical part of the system. We have justice in this country moves incredibly slowly wherever it is. And it's no different that it moves slowly in crime. I don't know why you can suggest that a judge would speed things up unless a judge is just going to find everyone guilty. I mean, the only way a judge can actually speed up a backlog is to just immediately go guilty, 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 guilty. And if that's what we're reducing justice to, then what on earth have we become? I can't overstate this one. This is a Labour government who have spent decades telling us they care about human rights and justice and goodness and fairness, and they're going to destroy the most important human right we have. This is an absolute disgrace. I don't think it should happen, and I hope we can constitutionally block it. I hope the House of Lords blocks it. I don't know what on earth they were doing announcing this before Budget Day. I don't know where this came from. It's an absolute blindside.
Do you think it's been essentially leaked today because of the focus on the budget? Are you curious about the timing of this news?
Well, but it's just absurd. I mean, they may as well have announced that they're going to build a Death Star. I mean, this is if they're worried about problem. Oh dear.
The news of the prison.
Well, exactly. How does this go as a workshop? Well, they sit there and they go, "We're going to have terrible trouble with the budget. We may as well announce that we're going to murder everybody's firstborn child." I mean, what? That's not. I don't think that's a PR improvement.
And it places obviously an enormous amount of power into the hands of one individual. Is there a concern about left-leaning activist judges?
Yes, I mean, we have to admit that ever since Tony Blair, judges have been promoted because they demonstrate a commitment to diversity, equality and inclusion. Diversity, equality and inclusion is a political position. It is a left-wing political position. It is a communist political position. It is part of our Fabian Marxist problem. And if you have judges who for the last 25 years or so have been promoted and appointed on the basis of commitment to this political policy, then you have political judges. So you already have judges who are highly questionable. And I do actually think, Mark, that, and I'd like to say this for your listeners and viewers, our judges have survived in quality despite the changes Tony Blair brought in, very largely. But nonetheless, this is just a power no one should have. Our judiciary need to be like Gandalf. They need to be like Galadriel. They need to turn away this evil ring. They cannot wield this power safely. That no one can. I would be corrupted by this, Mark. I would not want this power for me. It is not something that a human being can safely wield. That's why 12 of us get together and try and do our best collectively. And even if it's not perfect, it's the best system we've had. It is 810 years old. You don't throw away something like that just to get away from budget criticism.
No, Stephen, very briefly if you can, because the clock's against us, but a great question from Phil in Coventry. Can Calamity Lammy changing trial by jury be challenged under the ECHR? It's our human right to a trial by jury, is it not? And he says, when is this madness going to end? Your response to that?
So it's our right under our constitution for 810 years. What Tony Blair has done is created the ability to destroy our rights by aligning us with the ECHR, by assuming that we are European when we're not. So the ECHR does not incorporate a right to trial by jury because Europe is just a different place. And what the Human Rights Act is a monumental mistake, because it is an assumption that we all share the same values, and we value trial by jury and they don't. So no, I'm afraid the ECHR will be no help at all. And this is how joining up to a human rights convention has accidentally involved removing your human rights.
Well, you will love this. I've got a message just come in. Stephen Barrett, Attorney General in waiting, if only. If you want to read Stephen Barrett's excellent articles, just go to Substack and search The Public Gallery, a very fast-growing Substack account, and for good reason. Thank you, Stephen. We'll see you soon. Are you an alarm clock Brit? Well, Joel is. Mark, I'm up at 5 a.m. and work until 5:30 every day. I have to travel a lot to the Scottish Islands, and when I do, I have to work for 10 days straight to make it beneficial for both myself and my company. When I'm not doing my day job, I'm a reservist, which is mostly on weekends. I already earn less than my English counterparts because of the Scottish tax rates. I once worked a month overtime to only have every penny of it, plus or minus £1, to have it taxed. An extra month of overtime, all of it taxed. He says, what's the point in working long hours and working away from my family? If I could leave, I would. So many of you have said that in the last couple of days. If you had the means, you would leave this country. And the big problem is the people that do have the means, who pay so much of the tax, are leaving this country. The people that start companies, that they invest, and they employ people, and they buy Rolls Royces upon which the VAT is about 50 grand, they're leaving because Rachel Reeves has said you're not welcome here. This is a voice note from Sean.
Morning, Mark. Sean from Grimsby. I think the budget today is going to be a budget for dossers. If you're unemployed and you can't be bothered to get a job, happy days. If you've got loads of kids and you can't bother to get a job, happy days. If you're a foreign immigrant, happy days. They're all going to be better off, whilst the people who literally get out of bed like myself and actually pay for this stuff are going to be worse off. You know, I'm a working class guy. This Labour Party is supposed to represent people like me, but let me tell you, the only people these Labour Party represent is the liberal, elite, lefty, socialist do-gooders, mate. Great show.
Thank you, Sean, for those kind words. I cannot disagree with you. This from Andy in North Wales. Mark, you go on about people being out of work, needing to get a job. This is a joke. I've applied for over 3,200 jobs over 3 years. There isn't enough jobs out there. Companies are closing at a rate of knots. Good news is I've now found work minimum wage. I've lost my home and I now live in my car. Due to the fact that I can't afford to pay for rent, i.e. bills, food, gas, electricity, got into debt with minimum wage pay, so it doesn't pay for single people. A joke when out of work, I had a home, bills on a meter and a bit of food and help with food banks. Total joke working on the minimum wage. It doesn't work. Andy in North Wales, see if this matters to talk. My goodness, it does, Andy. Andy was okay, just okay, when he was out of work. He goes on a minimum wage and takes a simple job, and he's living in his car. Andy, your call, your text, it matters more than anything, because your efforts to rebuild your life and get working again are being punished by an economy that is at odds with your basic needs, your basic human rights. What an absolute shocker. What's your message to Rachel Reeves? More of that next.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
8:53 coming up to 8:54. This is Morning Glory. Mark Dolan with you on Budget Day, and that is the topic of today's Dolan's Dispatch, my alternative budget in 5 minutes' time, and instant live reaction from Dame Andrea Jenkins. What is your message to Rachel Reeves? This is Chris.
Hi Mark, it's Chris from the Wirral. Just on my way, I'm an alarm clock Brit, and I'm just on my way into work, 8 till 6 days a week. For about the average wage. I can't believe what I'm hearing on the way in. It's so depressing. Electricity companies advertising for use electric out of peak hours and, put towels alongside the door to stop drafts. I mean, we're living in 2025. I really thought we might have got past that sort of thing by now, but apparently not. And today we're just going to hear how we're going to spend more on the public sector lead weight, and the flotation device, which is the economy, is just going to be taxed to the hilt, and it's just going to be so depressing. I just don't know where we're going to go next. Keep up the good work though.
Chris, I hear you, and we all hear you. This is just, it's shocking, the state of the country. I'm 51 years of age, I've lived a life, and, this is an amazing country. I love our country, I'm a big patriot. But I can't think of a time when the mood has been lower and when the prospects have been so incredibly negative. But listen, can we be positive for a second? First of all, we're going to have some fun. You'll enjoy Dolan's Dispatch today, and you'll enjoy Dame Andrea Jenkins, who does not take any prisoners whatsoever. So coming up, and they've got another great idea from producer Christian. Donald Trump, did you hear this? He loves Rush Hour, the movie Rush Hour, starring Jackie Chan and Chris Brown. And he said, Chris Tucker, he said, I love the Rush Hour. I love the Rush Hour. Donald Trump, China, Hillary, lock her up. Anyway, so Trump said that he wants a sequel to Rush Hour, because I think there's been 3. So he wants a 4th, which Damien, my AP, is buzzing about. So Donald Trump requests a follow. Did you know it's happening? Thanks to the leader of the free world, there will be Rush Hour 4. And it's going to be very entertaining. So my question to you is, what sequel would you like? Christian wants E.T. 2, which has... I'd quite like Shawshank Redemption 2, back in prison. Right? A repeat offender for shoplifting or something. Anyhow, but let me know, what sequels would you like to hear? The other great news. Do you know the great thing about this country? 2 things. The Sun newspaper, which is the best-selling newspaper in this country, which, like Talk, is there for just real people who get up in the morning and contribute. And it is #1 for football coverage, partly thanks to Justin Allen, who is the chief EFL writer at the Sun newspaper. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. We need the joyous escapism of football. That's why it's there, because actually it's true. You write about football, every weekend and every day, and all the speculation and injuries and referee decisions. Football is very important as an outlet, isn't it, for people that are working hard, struggling to make ends meet. A bit of soccer at the weekend is exactly the tonic for a challenging situation in your work life.
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean, people work so hard and, they spend their hard-earned money at the weekend for a release from it, from the release of reality. And, in the back page of our paper today, one of the things that we're highlighting is England's the upcoming World Cup draw. I mean, everyone's looking forward to the World Cup, and we hope that England can actually bring some smiles to the nation's faces at long last. And the great news is that FIFA are actually going to separate the top 4 ranked countries in the world, and England are 4th. So it means that we will not have to play Spain or Argentina until the semi-finals at the earliest, or France until the semi-finals. The final, actually, France to the final. That's if the seedings all go according to plan. So as long as all 4 of those countries win their groups, they won't face each other. And absolutely more good news, we cannot face Germany, Portugal, Holland or Belgium in the groups, but we could face Scotland.
Yikes! Oh, that will be the original derby, won't it? The old grudge match. Do you rate Thomas Tuchel as England manager? Can he take us all the way, Justin?
I do believe he can, actually. I think we've got the most talented bunch of players we've ever had. I mean, obviously, everyone talked about the golden generation back in the day of David Beckham, Gerrard and all that lot. We had another golden generation under Gareth Southgate, but we keep producing good, talented young players. I was talking to Frank Lampard the other day, funny enough, and he said, he's never known us to have so many number 10s, for example. We just got an abundance of talent. But I think in the past, we haven't had the tactical nous to win big matches. And I think that was unfortunately lacking with Gareth Southgate. I think Tuchel has got that. He's a winner.
Brilliant stuff. Listen, Justin, more power to you. Really enjoyed the Sun's coverage, especially the EFL. You're the chief EFL writer, and the Championship is an unbelievable league. It is so entertaining, so many goals, so competitive as well. There you go, Justin Allen from the Sun newspaper. And there you go, that's how we fix the country. We win, or at least for England anyway, or Scotland or Wales, I don't mind, Northern Ireland. We win the World Cup. Why don't we just do that instead? That'll sort things out. Darren says 16 years as a coal miner, 28 years HGV driver. Has it been worth it? Definitely not. Well, I'll be tackling that in Dolan's Dispatch and Dame Andrea Jenkins next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Coming up to 3 minutes past 9, D-Day, folks. Yes, this is Morning Glory, and a nation awaits. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, addresses Parliament at 12:30 p.m. this afternoon. And with her long-awaited and much-trailed budget statement, we'll bring you expert opinion from across the political spectrum in an effort to anticipate just what is coming and how it's going to affect you. And our focus this morning are the alarm clock Brits, the people that get up in the morning, work hard, put a shift in and contribute more than they take out. Are you an alarm clock Brit? If so, what is your message to Rachel Reeves today? Send me a voice note. Text the word talk in your message to 87222 or call me 0344 499 1000. We'll be hearing from the fearless Dame Andrea Jenkins in just a moment with her thoughts for the budget statement today. She's the Reform UK Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire. Also breaking this morning, a leaked document seen by The Telegraph reveals that jury trials are to be scrapped for all but the most serious crimes. This from a Justice Secretary in David Lammy, mastermind himself, who just a few years ago said that jury trials are central to our democracy. So what are the implications for justice in this country? And we thought we'd have a bit of fun on this rather gloomy day with everyone terrified about what's happening at lunchtime in Parliament. Donald Trump has successfully convinced producers at Paramount to make Rush Hour 4, which is an action comedy. Well done, Donald. That might be better than the peace deal in Gaza, a fourth Rush Hour. So what sequel would you like to have? I've got this from Julia. The sequel I'd like is Titanic. Then all the Labour Party could have a major role rearranging the deck chairs. This is too good. I'll get to more of those very fun suggestions of sequels in just a moment. But of course, we will bring you anticipation, analysis, and all of the opinions you need around the budget, which is happening at 12:30 today. Julia Hartley-Brewer live at 10. Dame Andrea Jenkins waiting in the wing. But first, Dolan's dispatch. Following last October's catastrophic Halloween budget, what awaits us today is the most hotly anticipated sequel since The Hangover 2. But the headache, the nausea, and the cold sweats from today's budget statement will be far worse than the consequences of any big night out. It's not complicated, is it, what the country needs? It isn't difficult. It's not rocket science. You get it, I get it. Rachel doesn't get it. You cut taxes, which boosts growth and investment, which leads to national income. That's money that we can then spend on policing, schools, defence, the courts, street lighting, and yes, may God forbid, fixing potholes. Wouldn't that be nice? It's not complicated. We've got to cut spending because we live beyond our means. More goes out than comes in. You know that with your own household finances, that it doesn't end well if you're in the red. You cut your cloth accordingly, you make sacrifices, but this government does not. You get it, I get it, Rachel doesn't. She needs to recalibrate the economy and shrink the welfare state so that it pays to work and call time on those chancers who sit at home for months on end with alleged stress and anxiety. The welfare state was supposed to be a safety net, not a lifestyle choice. Rachel needs to cut red tape on businesses so that they can deploy their precious resources on hiring people, on investing, on innovating and on growing. It's not complicated, is it? You get it, I get it, but Rachel doesn't. Now I want to thank Karen, because Karen is one of the many people that either listens to or watches this show. And she coined the phrase alarm clock Brits. And Morning Glory is the show and Talk is the channel for the alarm clock Brits. The people that get up early in the morning, put a shift in, contribute more than they take out. And the alarm clock Brits are part of a dying breed with 53% of the population, more than half, now a net drain on the nation. And that does not end well. I get it, you get it, but Rachel doesn't get it. I'd like to give the last word of Dolan's dispatch today to Adam, who left an outstanding voice note yesterday on yesterday's show. Take it away.
Hi, Mark. Adam from Bournemouth, yeah. I was one of them that had the annoying alarm clock go off this morning at 4:15 to be on the road for 5:30, to do an 11-hour day, to earn pittance by the time Rachel Reeves has got her fingers on everything. You do sometimes sit there and think, what's the point? What is the point sometimes? It really, really is becoming to that point.
Adam, my heart goes out to you, and I couldn't put it better myself. That was Dolan's dispatch. Your reaction, 03444991000. What is your message to Rachel Reeves today? Mary is in Leeds. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. How are you, Matt?
Very well. What's happening up in Leeds today? How's the weather? Is the sun finally reappeared?
It's very frosty, I'll tell you that for nothing. But as a very, very concerned mother, I would like to know, where are these jobs? You've got MPs coming on your show saying that there's these opportunities and them opportunities. Young people, they put the retirement age up. There's no jobs for the young ones. You're not getting a job from the job fair. You're not getting a job from the job centre. You can't hand your CVs anywhere. Nobody's looking at CVs. They're going on it absolutely boils my blood, but today's generation, they can't get jobs. My son's worked two years voluntary for HMRC and for the Leeds City Council. Nobody offered him a job because they're not setting these young ones on. He's got his SIA badge on. There's no security guard jobs. Why? I've been in contact with the company and they said that they're on absolutely so much pressure from the government to set on ethnic minorities. So where are the jobs for these 19-year-olds that are just finishing college that can't get a job?
Most definitely. You mentioned ethnic minorities, those wicked policy of diversity, equity and inclusion, which is deeply racist and should be illegal, making it harder for your lad to get work. And the thing is, Mary, it's critical that young people leaving school, graduating from university and college, they get working straight away. They need to have the work ethic. They need to be productive. They cannot start their lives sat on the sofa at home.
Yeah, my son left college. He would not sign on benefits. He did not want benefits. He has been knocked back for nearly 40 jobs within space of a month and a half. Nobody's looking at CVs. Is it a machine? Is it an AI machine? Who's looking at the CVs? Because all he does is get, after 3 weeks of applying for jobs, 3 weeks later, sorry, no joy, no joy, no joy. How much can somebody's mental health take till they get a job?
Is devastating, and it is probably AI. It all goes through some horrible piece of software, Mary. The thing is, the issue you've got, I don't know if you share this view, but if you create an atmosphere which is against business and against enterprise, well, then these companies, you know, if they're under the weight of taxation and red tape, they're not going to hire people. Is that part of the problem?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is a part of the problem. So what generation are we sending these messages out? Because MPs are jumping on the TV saying there's all these opportunities. Where are they? Where are these opportunities? Because my son cannot find a job. You can't get one from anywhere. I asked the local job centre. He goes to see a job coach down there. Do you know what she says to me? Would I like Citizens Advice number?
This is wild. And the problem with your lad is, by the sounds of it, he doesn't tick enough boxes, Mary.
Well, at the end of the day, he's done 2 years voluntary work. He's took his SIA badge and he still can't get a job.
Crazy, isn't it? And what are you able to tell us what your lad is called?
It's called Mackenzie. I've even had to resort to Facebook to try and get him a job because I thought we might get somebody on social media that says, yeah, we need some jobs, because I'm not getting any information from anybody, the job centre, anywhere at all. You go on these job sites and they're just no good. I think they're just doing it for advertisement purposes. I don't think there's a lot of the jobs there.
And what are his skills? What does he want to do, Mary?
Well, this is the problem. You finish college at 19, he will do anything. He will do anything. He has applied from Amazon to Parcel Force to the railways to the Jet2. He has applied for every single supermarket, and he has not got one interview.
And how's his state mentally, Mary? How's he feeling?
Well, he's deflated. He says, Mum, it shouldn't be this hard. in this day and age to get a job. They've put retirement age up, but the young ones can't get a job.
Yeah.
That's a no-no straight away. They're not setting a lot of British white citizens on with these jobs, and I think the government has given that much pressure to the companies to say, you don't see, you go in hospitals, it's applied for the NHS. They're not setting, they're all ethnic minorities. There's no white people getting these jobs. Matt,
Well, I mean, we know it's provably the case, Mary, that organisations like the RAF have said do not hire white pilots. You've got banks in London that require permission from senior management to hire somebody based upon their skin colour. That is definitely unacceptable. I don't know why it's not why it's not even illegal, Mary. So how old is Mackenzie?
Mackenzie's 19 years old.
19.
He's a lovely boy. He's 6'2". He's an able boy. I wish his alarm could go off in the morning. He wants his alarm clock to go off in the morning. He has not a problem getting up and going to work. He's put on all his CVs. He doesn't mind what hours he'll work. He'll work weekends. He's not bothered. And he still can't get a job. We haven't had one interview. So will somebody tell me what the problem is? Because there's no point in having a job centre. There's no point in having job fairs. What beneficial out of them? There's no point in coming out with a keyring and a pen.
No, there isn't. Listen, stay with me, Mary. Get the front page of the Telegraph up if you can, Luke, because this is quite... Sorry, the Mail. This is quite significant in relation to Mackenzie, Mary. Budget we've all been dreading. Rachel Reeves faces chorus of condemnation for pricing young people out of work. An inflation-busting hike to the minimum wage threatens to push even more young people out of employment. On the eve of the budget, the Chancellor faced a huge backlash over the bonkers rise to the national living and minimum wages, presumably, Mary, because it will make it harder for young people to get work.
Exactly.
And what is the future then for Mackenzie? And the bottom line is he's got his great ability. He's a fine young lad. He'll get there in the end, but you're probably just worried about the immediate future for him.
Well, what future has he got if he can't even get a job? He's not going to be able to get a mortgage. He can't get a mortgage if you haven't got a job. So it goes down the scale. And they're not setting these young white British boys on. There's nobody giving them jobs. So I'd just like to know how you get a job if you can't even hand a CV in at a supermarket.
And if Rachel Reeves was listening to this, what would you say to her, Mary?
I say, stop. She needs to get in the real world. These people, these MPs, it's all right for them. They don't pay gas, they don't pay electricity, they don't pay council tax. It's all expensive. Get in the real world. Get some real jobs for British people.
Mary, I'm so sorry for what Mackenzie's going through. He has got an amazing mother who is fighting his corner, but that doesn't put food on the table, and it doesn't get that lad a job. He sounds like a terrific chap, Mary, and you've got no doubt done a good job because he's 19 years of age, fine figure of a man at 6'2", and he wants to get out, he wants to work. And Mary wants his alarm clock to go off in the morning. She wants him to be an alarm clock Brit. Mary, maybe you could do me a favour, and will you keep me updated on Mackenzie's progress?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Definitely. We wish him well. And Mary, I know that the army of people listening and watching this show will have your back on this one, and we'll be praying that Mackenzie gets an opportunity alongside so many other young Brits who would love to work and who can't. Mary is so right. Where are the jobs? Where are they? Oh, my goodness, where do you go? Let's speak to Dame Andrea Jenkins, Reform UK Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire. Dame Andrea, welcome to Morning Glory. It's lovely to see you. Listen, I know you're so busy. You're the Reform UK Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire, trying to make an improvement to the lives of people in your region. Yeah. I don't know if you caught much of Mary's call there, but her son Mackenzie's applied for, I think, 40 positions. He's been out of work for months. He's 19 years of age. He's got every qualification you need, but no opportunities.
Oh, it's very sad, isn't it, Mark? The sun's blinding me, by the way. I'm going to have to move, I think.
That's it. We'll give you time because because
it, yeah.
there you go. Well, thank you for doing this. I know you're in the car, and we'll just get a couple of minutes. Go for it.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly sad, and this is what I'm trying to do as mayor: ensure that the next generation have the skills to actually succeed in life. I think Blair and far too many people pushed everybody down the academic route. And I'm going to set up the trades college, the largest trades college in the UK, give people the skills and have that parity of esteem between vocational, technical and academic qualifications, but work with industry to make sure jobs are there. That's the important thing, Mark.
Well, this is exactly it. Today's budget, I mean, one thing I should ask you, former Tory MP, do you accept some of the blame for the right royal mess that we're in? You know, the growth of the welfare state, the deficit, the national debt, a culture where it doesn't pay to work?
Oh, completely, definitely. But as you know, Mark, I was one of the most outspoken Conservative MPs calling for 2 prime ministers to resign.
Yeah.
I did say to Rishi in lockdown that, you know, if you start paying people to stay at home, they will want to stay at home and elect a socialist government.
Yes.
So, and I think that there wasn't Conservative enough for quite a while, actually.
No, that's why you left. You took a big personal risk and a political risk by leaving, but you're now the Reform UK Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire. How are the people that elected you finding life at the moment, Andrea? What are you hearing?
Well, if you think it's a massive rural community, Mark, and they're hammering the farmers. I mean, you saw yesterday the protest was being cancelled. So where's the democracy in that? Also, that rural community, they are putting solar farms, up to 40,000 acres of solar farms on prime agricultural land. We've got a lot of, SMEs, where they're worried about the budget. And, so it's difficult. I think every working family, every business owner, every pensioner who's worked hard and done the right thing in life, they are worried, Mark.
Well, they are worried, and I know that you're speaking up for them, Andrea, and more power to you as the incoming Reform UK Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire. And thank you so much for grabbing 5 minutes with us via your smartphone in the car, because we know you're off to meetings and off to do your job as the Mayor, but we'll definitely speak again soon. My thanks to Dame Andrea Jenkins, who's just as worried about her local constituents as she is about the rest of the nation. It is a struggle, is it not? I said pre-election the Tories have been terrible, Labour will be worse, and here we are. Let's take a voice note from Gaz.
Morning, Mark. Is it not a bit of a coincidence that they're removing trials by jury as of today? Does it not mean that Rachel from accounts is going to get let off with stealing from the public, robbing the working man, and lying on her CV and all the other bits of ridiculous things that she's doing? Cheers, pal.
Well, very fair point indeed. I'm worried, Gaz, about the timing of this. An egregious assault on our criminal justice system, with the idea that you're not going to have jury trials for any case that leads to a prison sentence of less than 5 years. We've had trial by jury for over 8 centuries, and it's disappeared minutes into this new socialist Labour government. It's not great, is it? Listen, folks, we've got so much more to come. What is your message to Rachel Reeves on Budget Day? That's next.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
23 minutes past 9. Morning glory. Mark Dolan with you until 10 a.m. Julia Hartley-Brewer is up at 10 with a full preview of Rachel Reeves's budget. And of course, that happens at 12:30 live from the House of Commons. We will bring you uninterrupted coverage and full reaction this afternoon. Good morning, Mark. And Talk, says Deborah. There's a farmers' protest happening right now. The government tried to shut it down yesterday, but in defiance, the farmers are still standing strong. We're on that story, Deborah. It's breaking news. Whitehall has run amok with tractors, which were banned by the Met Police in the last 24 hours. The farmers didn't get the memo. More power to them. Would you like a sequel? Because Donald Trump wanted another Rush Hour and he's got his wish. Well, Jez says Kingdom of Heaven 2 would be nice. Very underrated film, but must be the director's cut. So a second equally made film would be superb. Listen, we need as much escapism as we can get given the negative headlines around today's anticipated budget. Let's get further reaction and analysis from Gina Miller, very successful entrepreneur in her own right, founder of SCM Direct, Money, She and Transparency, and Justice campaigner. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning, Mark.
What might your concerns be about today's budget?
Oh my gosh, where do we start? First, there's the process and then there's the content. I think we'll all agree that the process of getting to this budget has been an absolute pantomime. And I think it's time we stop this and just had, instead of a budget day, that a Chancellor goes to Parliament and just says what they're going to do, because it's just been disgraceful, all the kite flying. But then content-wise, I'm afraid I think this will be an economically illiterate budget. There seems to be very little understanding of what the country needs at the moment. And it's you know, as we all suspected, it looks as though it's going to be a budget for the backbenchers and not for rebuilding Britain. I mean, just in my area, just a small example on the reducing the cash ISAs, we already have one of the lowest saving rates in the G7.
Yeah.
And rather than doing that and educating people, because there is a job of educating people to say that in cash you don't get, you know, the returns you need to secure your future, what they should be looking at is something like encouraging pension funds to invest some of their equities into UK businesses, because they just show that they don't understand, behavior of individuals. Because what people will do is because they want low risk in cash ISAs, they'll simply put that money in, say, a cash ETF, and it won't go to UK businesses. But overall, there's so much she could do to actually encourage business and confidence. And instead, we've got confidence that's on the floor. It's, it's the lowest it's been since the global financial crisis. And there's little in this budget that I can see that's actually going to create the fairness we need in our system. They keep going on about fairness, but actually look at the tax gap. Look at the trusts that need reforming. Look at actually other things. Look at an online transaction tax. There are other things they can do, but there's nothing in this budget that gives me confidence that this is a Chancellor who actually understands how to get our economy growing.
And Gina, you are far from being a rabid right-winger, I should say. You're not a Tory, you're not a Reform UK supporter, no. But you can just see from a cold, calculating business point of view that today's budget is likely to make things worse, not better, for my viewers and listeners.
Absolutely, because it's the economy, stupid as the saying goes. It's not about politics. It's about I don't care which political party you're in. Our country is in crisis. We need money to spend on rebuilding our infrastructure, to addressing the systemic failures we've got. And rather than tinkering, we need real reform, and we need to raise money. And the fairness point is a real one. I absolutely agree that people are cross and angry about the unfairness in our tax system, but that's what should be addressed. You know, we've got people who are avoiding their taxes. Let's get them paying their taxes. Let's get businesses paying their fair share. And I don't mean businesses on the high street, I mean digital businesses. I mean, let's get a proper tax system that's simple and fair and invested in so that it's collected properly, rather than punishing people all the time and, you know, making it much harder. I mean, overnight, this new announcement on the minimum wage or living wage, when you've got the Resolution Foundation, a fan of the Labour Party, saying that it will cause crisis for under 21s and mean that that number of not in employment or education could go up to 1 million. 1 million. I mean, it's disgraceful.
Indeed, and the Resolution Foundation that you mentioned, the Labour Party, one of its favourite think tanks, has also suggested that the workers' rights package is going to hurt growth, it's going to hurt investment, it's going to hurt employment. And the Tony Blair Institute have said that the workers' rights package must be mothballed, paused at best. It's not going to happen,
as I said,
is it?
It is an economically illiterate budget, and I don't understand why she doesn't have, or whoever the advisors are around it, because there must be advisors. Every government has advisors, every treasury have advisors, or maybe are not speaking with the government, with Mr. Starmer and Mrs. Reeves. Maybe they're just not listening. But I can tell you, as a business person, as an investor, as looking after people's money, this budget, people are not going to be taking kindly to it.
I've had a couple of people saying, you know, why is this happening? Why are they doing this? Is it political ideology over economic reality?
You think it is? I think that what they're doing, I mean, they don't seem to have a vision. And this is actually something more holistically about the Labour Party. If they had a vision and a plan and said, look, what we're going to do is we're going to create a fairer society, and this is how we're going to do it, then people would understand. And, you know, they keep going on about the bond markets. I can tell you what the markets want, it's what I do every day, is certainty and confidence. And we don't have that because we can't see a plan. What they seem to do is kite fly one thing, the backbenchers are unhappy, so they change their minds, and it's politics that changes every day depending on the weather.
Briefly, Gina, are the Tories escaping you know, sort of accountability here, given that they were in power for 14 years? Is it important to kind of put that in context, that they're partly culpable for this rather dysfunctional economy that we've got?
Look, Mark, there's no denying, I know you're like this, but there's no denying the effects of 14 years of poor political choices by the Conservative Party and the fact that we Brexited. Those are both realities. But what we need to do is deal with policies now that will fix some of those black holes. It's no point just looking backwards. And that's what, you can't carry on blaming people all the time. You need to fix it. And that's what the government should be doing. We should be focusing on policies that actually fix our economy, create jobs, create growth, and actually invest in our country.
Well, Gina, when we've got more time, you and I can have a good old Brexit ding-dong. Before I let you go, we share the same view, which is that we want the viewers and listeners to this show to be able to, you know, work, make something of their lives, contribute to the system, have something to show for it at the end of it. At the moment, you know, I'm getting such a message, Gina, from so many people listening to and watching the show. Some of them have said, if I had the money, I would leave. That's the first thing they're saying. Oh, yes. A lot of people are saying, I took a message earlier, a voice note from a chap who's been at the bus stop since 5 a.m, waiting for a bus which is 20 minutes late to go and do a 12-hour shift, and he'll be left with precious little once he's paid his costs and his taxes at the end of the hard working day. So we've got that, and I've just taken a call from Mary in Leeds, and her son has been through 40 job applications. He's well qualified, he's 19 years of age, he wants to work, he cannot find work, and so therefore the outlook is quite grim.
It is, but when you've got to, you know, the national insurance tax that they brought in last April has really damaged the employment possibilities for youngsters when it comes to different sectors. We already know that data, and we already see that happening. And from what I do in investment side, I can tell you people with money, it's not just people with lots of money who are leaving. I mean, I'm just to give you an anecdote, on Monday I was having my chemo, I'm going through chemotherapy, and at the moment, and on the ward that I was on in my NHS hospital, all the nurses and doctors were talking about is where they're going to, their applications to Australia, to New Zealand, the fact they're leaving. So this is not just the wealthy who are saying, what we perceive as wealthy people. These are people who are saying, why would we stay here? The economy is not working. The environment is one of hostility and jealousy. We don't want to bring our families up here. That's not, we need aspiration, we need confidence, we need creativity, we need to have a positive outlook. And that's just not being delivered at the moment.
Gina, we wish you well on your health journey and be praying for a speedy recovery for you, and more power to you for your bold remarks about the economy at the moment and what you consider to be an economically illiterate budget. Thank you, Gina. We'll catch up again soon. Gina Miller is the founder of SCM Direct, Money, She and Transparency, and a justice campaigner. Ashley is in London. Hello, Ashley.
Morning, Mark. It's going to be an interesting day today. It's a bit like, Robin Hood, isn't it? They want to nick all the money from people.
It is.
All the money. So it's, my point really is that I've got a small business. I'm based on the outskirts of London. I've been in my house for 20 odd years. Didn't pay that much for the house, done a load of work to it. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation in my position where I can't really take the NI increase last year kind of killed employing, like that kid you're talking about before about looking for a job.
Mackenzie, yeah.
It's the difference. It's saying, right, okay, my extra costs have got to go into paying for the people that I've got. I can't expand. So I have to overlook that chap that deservedly wants a job. So I can't do that. Now they want to tax me on my house. That I can't move into something else because it will be more expensive to rent. I can't put equity from the house because if I do that, I've got to sell it and then move into something else, which I can't find anything else. And it's just a standard end of terrace house, nothing special. It's all, they don't take into consideration anything in regards to geographical locations. What I earn here, I would earn the same if I lived in Manchester, Leeds or Newcastle or Durham, and the house prices would be the same. My same house would be a quarter of the price, right? And it's anyone but anyone that might have some form of equity. We're going to try and pick their pockets, but the reality is that just because they might have equity in their properties, they don't have cash in their pockets. And it's a lot of OAPs around my way are very concerned because they're all above band F on council tax. They live, fair, but means they have to be careful. But now they could be hit with increases just because the equity of the property, and they've got nowhere to go. They can't just sell up. Where are they going to go? Their whole family are local. What do you do? And it's just a bit scary that they've got no foresight. I think it was Gina who was just on. I mean, she's right. There's no foresight, no plan. I have to plan what my business is doing for the next year or two.
Yeah.
Right. It appears to me, anyone that takes orders from your back bench and can't shut them up, right, it should not be in government because it's dangerous. The back leading the front, it should be the other way around, and they should be told to keep quiet. And even if you put 2 pence on the pound on income tax, which is very unpopular, I appreciate, at least if you act with conviction, and this is the reason why we're doing it, and we have to do it, and the backbenchers, I'm sorry, I know you don't like it, but this is what we've got to do to bring our country back to where we need to, I would have a hell of a lot more respect, right? Absolutely haven't got any you-know-whats, right? They just haven't got the ability to stand up to the backbench, the old school Labour, the socialist side of that party, and they, as I said, they don't take into consideration any average person. Just because I own a business doesn't mean I'm rich. I work very hard. I don't get any, I don't get paid for my holidays.
Yeah.
I have to work hard for my
You took
money.
risks.
Yep, absolutely. And what do I get for it? I get my EV taxed. I get rid of my diesel because it's not popular because they told me previously that I should buy one. And I'm just waiting for the bombshell to drop about how much council tax extra I'm going to be paying and how much additional tax that I'm going to pay and what my business partner do about it, which is a real shame.
Ashley, I think the most powerful word you used there in that incredibly articulate assessment was dangerous. That actually what we've got is a dangerous government that are being led from radical left-wing backbenchers. Ashley, good luck navigating this tortuous economy, which is so dysfunctional, which is against work, against enterprise, against growth, from a chancellor who apparently is going to be the biggest growth chancellor in history. Good luck with that. This is Darren on the budget.
Morning, Mark. Darren from Warsaw. I said this a year ago with the last economy crashing budget they'll be back in 12 months and it'll happen again. She'll have to do something, well, whoever the Chancellor is, because it won't be Rachel from accounts. Give it 12 months. They might be able to drag it out to March 2027 and they'll have to come back. 500 a day going on benefits. Illegals breaking in at, 2,000 a week. The interest on our debt going up. The millionaires leaving the country. So they'll have to do it again. 12, 18 months tops. And that's where the election will come, 2027, because there won't be anything else left to tax, mate. There won't be. I pay £300 to £400 a week in diesel. After today, I know I'm going to be paying £400 to £450 a week in diesel, and they'll come back and do it again next year, if they're still in office. So Farage is right. 2027, there'll be a general election because there'll be nothing left to tax by these clowns. Great show, mate.
Here's hoping there'll be an election in 27, Darren. Otherwise, I don't know what country we'll be left with. Very, very dark times indeed. And I will say that whilst I love taking your calls, texts and messages, it's painful. It's painful to hear what you're going through. It hurts. You know, you are struggling, you are suffering. It's so unfair and it's so wrong. Let me bring you some breaking news. Furious farmers have defied a tractor ban as they head into Westminster for a budget day protest. It sparked accusations of two-tier policing. They're protesting against inheritance tax reforms known as the family farm tax. Another group who have been attacked, people that get up at 4 in the morning, at -5, rain, sleet and snow, feeding the pigs, getting the cows out. The farmers. We'll speak to a farmer protesting in his tractor next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
9:40, furious farmers have defied a tractor ban. This is breaking news as they head into Westminster in central London for a budget day protest. Matt Cullen is a beef farmer, fourth generation beef farmer, and he's in his tractor right now. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. Good morning. The signal might go. It seems to be a bit iffy at the moment, but I hope you can hear me.
Definitely. Your tractor is not built for central London's thoroughfares, but you're in Westminster with a clear message to Rachel Reeves. What is it, Matt?
Look, the clear message was that we want the family inheritance tax that she's going to implement to be axed or changed and listened to, because it wasn't going to drive the revenue that she said it was, and it's going to decimate farmers, not just 20%, it was going to wipe out 70% of small family farms. And today's demonstration on budget day was legitimately organised, done correctly. The Met had been, and I'm not part of the organiser this time, but I'm here in my tractor, but the people that had organised it had done absolutely everything right. The relationship with the Met was perfect. And at the last hour, yesterday afternoon, the plug was pulled from us. And that came from higher up than the Met and from government. And what that's now done is angled and made the farmers more angry than ever before. We've come to Westminster in the tractors. They've tried to put restrictions on that we mustn't go down Whitehall, and they're blocking Whitehall off, which was where we was originally going to go and park 500 tractors up, and every farmer was going to come on foot today. And now London is coming to a gridlock because the farmers are still coming. You know, I just really don't understand the stupidity of this bloody government that are in charge and what they think they're going to achieve. It really gets my back up. You know, we've got better things to be doing with our lives, feeding animals, attending to crops, than taking our time out here to come and protest for our future, for our younger generation. And it's not on, and that just shows you how thick the people in Whitehall are and this Labour government that just don't get it. And I'm sorry I'm cross, but every farmer today is livid.
Yeah, how do these policies, this inheritance tax rate, how does it make farmers feel, given that it's incredibly tough work, all hours, all weathers, unexpected events like animal illness and the seasons, climate change, whatever you like? It's one of the toughest jobs out there. It seems this government, Matt, doesn't realise that for many farmers, it's a labour of love. You're not making millions.
Yeah, no, we're not. You know, we are custodians of the land. We look after the land and we pass it on to the next generation. And every farm is making a 1% return on their asset and business. Now, there isn't any other business I know that makes a 1% return. You know, they wouldn't work like that. They wouldn't function. And it just shows and demonstrates the lack of understanding of how farming is funded and how it works by the Treasury and by those officials in Whitehall.
Matt, we support you. It's the most shocking thing. You know, the great irony, Matt, briefly, is that this inheritance tax rate may not actually bring any money in. It could actually cost the Exchequer by the time an impact on investment has been calculated.
Yeah, absolutely. And also what it now demonstrates today, we've gone back to the two-tier policing by Kia.
Yeah.
This is a classic of two-tier policing today. Absolutely.
Is it an effort? Do you feel that last 11th hour decision by the Met, the tractor ban, was that an effort to silence you or what? What's happening?
Yeah. All that's been is an effort to silence. That's why they don't want any tractors parked in Whitehall. They're not allowing us to drive around Parliament Square. They just want to try and silence us.
Briefly, Matt, before you go, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think Rachel is going to listen, and I don't think this is going to change. There will be an election, 2027, 28, 29. Whoever comes in to replace this government is going to reverse inheritance tax on farmers. You know, reform, the Tories are committed to that. But will that be too late?
Oh, far too late. Those family farms will be gone. They never come back. They will never, ever come back. The small family farms that are gone, they will go, and the government want big corporations to buy the land and those small family farms up, whether it's for solar, whether it's big corporations. That's what they want. They want the small family farms gone. They will never come back. It is far too late. The only thing that they forget is you should never bite off the hand that feeds you. And with us as we feed the nation, they ought to remember that, because if a food strike came along, and there's lots of talks about having a food strike, there's going to be a lot of hungry people at Christmas, I can assure you.
Matt, we back you all the way. Matt Cullen, good luck with the protest, and well done for one in the eye to the Met, who tried to silence you by banning tractors in central London at the 11th hour. Matt Cullen is a beef farmer, fourth generation beef farmer, based just outside of Canterbury in Kent and now in Westminster, wreaking havoc, and that's a good thing. Ed Miliband's Energy Department has downgraded a pledge to cut household bills amid rising costs driven by net zero. Let's get reaction from Andrew Montford, who is the director of Net Zero Watch. On budget day, more bad news for my viewers and listeners, Andrew.
Yeah, and of course, I think the thing people don't realise is that it's going to get a lot worse than this. We are expecting bills to rise for at least the next 5 years under Ed Miliband's plans, and to rise really quite dramatically, perhaps by as much as 30%. So I guess it's good in a way that he's admitting that he's not going to deliver on his manifesto pledge to cut bills, and frankly, the record of their year and a half in power has been that bills have just gone up and up, and they're expected to go up further. So he couldn't really maintain the fiction any longer. But we are at the stage now where we are going to do catastrophic damage to the economy if we don't change course completely. And there is no sign that Miliband is going to do that. I mean, he is a complete fanatic, and he will do this. He will carry on in this direction regardless of the harm to the economy, to the people of the country. He just doesn't care. He's not thinking about ordinary people.
And Andrew, he is the bookies' favourite to replace Keir Starmer as Prime Minister.
Yeah, I mean, that's a frightening prospect, isn't it? It was quite interesting. Our sister organisation, the Global Warming Policy Foundation, had a lecture a couple of days ago given by Lord Glassman, the leader of the Blue Labour movement, who suggested that in the Q&A that Miliband would not be the next leader. That, in fact, he was rather disdainful of that idea, which would be a blessed relief. But on the other hand, if you look around the House of Commons, the Labour benches in the House of Commons, you don't see many people who you would want running the energy portfolio. It is quite scary, the dearth of talent on the Labour benches, and frankly the fanaticism about net zero. Until we get somebody who is grounded in empirical reality rather than the absurdities of climate models, we are going to remain in deep trouble.
Andrew, what would you say to the majority of climate scientists who say that the Earth is heating up? We've got to get those carbon emissions down, and also to government figures who would argue that the green revolution will produce jobs and economic growth?
Clearly, it will not produce economic growth, because that is the opposite of the effect it's having. The costs of electricity bills have been rising pretty much since the day we instituted the renewables obligation in 2003. The costs of our net zero policies outweigh any conceivable harm from climate change by perhaps an order of magnitude. I mean, it is an enormous cost. It's something that Ed Miliband's Clean Power 2030 plan is going to cost something like £1,000 for each tonne of carbon dioxide saved. But the mainstream view on the damage that a tonne of carbon dioxide does is sort of £50 to £100 a tonne. So it's outweighing it enormously. So of course it's damaging the economy. And these wind and solar equipment, they're not made here. They're made mainly in China or the Middle East. So those manufacturing jobs are not here. We are closing down our manufacturing and exporting all those jobs to the Far East. We've seen Grangemouth go, we've seen Moss Moran going, we've seen the Lindsay oil refinery is about to go too. We've lost all our aluminium. We're starting to lose ceramics, and we can't continue with this complete fiction. People in Westminster and in the media need to stop lying about it.
And the thing is, briefly, it's a couple of seconds if you can, Andrew. It's the madness of sort of eco-extremism. Couple of seconds if you can on this crazy story. We need nuclear power because it's consistent, it's steady, it's long-term, and it's homegrown energy. But there's a crazy policy of protecting salmon. Can you tell us about this?
Well, this is the so-called fish disco on the Hinkley nuclear power station, where the rules say you've got to put in the best possible equipment to save, whatever wildlife there is in certain places, like the Severn Estuary. So they've spent 700 million or something installing this equipment to frighten certain fish species away and stop them being sucked into the nuclear power station. It's the bat tunnel all over again.
Yeah, and is it something like £250,000 per salmon saved?
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. But they put bonkers, crazy environmentalists in charge of regulation, and yes, of course, we get bonkers policies coming out of it.
Andrew, always common sense. Do join us again soon. Andrew Montford is the director of Net Zero Watch. What's your message to Rachel Reeves? This is Jill.
Good morning, it's Jill from Liverpool. I'm absolutely at boiling point with this government. I really, really am. I'm self-employed. I'm a small business, but they just seem to think if you've got any sort of business, then you're wealthy. Well, no, we're not wealthy. We're just trying to just manage at the moment. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I've gone into work and I go into work every day, and I'd say, because I'm in the car industry, I'd say 40% now applying for finance are on benefits. And when you sit down with them and say, OK, what are you receiving? They're receiving multiple benefits for children now because now everything's got a label. It's actually not worth you working because now it's a lifestyle choice. And my daughter, yes, she does suffer with anxiety, but she still bloody works. She was saying to me the other night, Mum, you know, I'm the only one that works out of a circle of friends of 10. And it's like, apart from her and her boyfriend, it's what's happened? What has happened to this country? I just don't get it.
In every single area. Jill, a brilliant voice note. Another reason that Mackenzie, your caller's son, can't get a job, says Brad, is Rayner's ridiculous employment laws. Why would an employer risk taking on a youngster with no track record when they can't get rid of him? Brad in Cambridge. So much more to come. What is your message to Rachel Reeves? Don't forget, Julia's up at 10. This is Morning Glory.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
9:55 Morning Glory. Julia Hartley-Brewer up at 10 with a full budget preview, back-to-back coverage of the budget statement before, during and after. Keep it Talk all the way. Mark, says Dave in Leyland, I would happily pay into a pot to keep the farmers afloat for as long as it took if they decided to shut down the food supply. I can't be the only one. I'm so right about that. We've got some more voice notes, do we not? So take it away. What we'll do, by the way, just before we do that, let's just overview the whole situation, which is that you've got an economy where borrowing is now at record highs, right? 100 billion a year just on the debt alone. You've got a government that cannot run its finances whilst you and I cut our cloth accordingly and decide what we can afford and what we can't afford. And we're going to experience what I think will be the culmination of political and economic incompetence at 12:30. And I think it's a government that is blinded by leftist ideology, controlled by its left-wing MPs, and is going to lead the country to ruin. The only two positives I've got for you is that may be it for socialism in this country. I thought we killed it in 1979 with the glorious election of Margaret Thatcher, but this is hopefully the death rattle of leftist economic and political ideology. Here is hoping. Take this voice note, this is brilliant.
Morning, Mark, Med from Birmingham. I'm an alarm clock brick. Unfortunately, my alarm clock goes off at 10:15 at night. I leave work at 11:15, start at past, do a 12-hour plus shift every day, and then it's about a 45-minute commute each direction. So I'm out of the house minimum of about 14 hours a day. I work 60 hours on my short week and 70 on my long, which is 1 week one week of another. Me and my wife, we're quite comfortable compared to a lot of other people. However, we had to make the decision to not have children because we can't afford to, unlike all the others. They sit on their arse, and when the one's coming of age, just pop another one out so we can pay for it.
9:57, Mehdi, I understand your pain. Apologies to anyone offended by the language, but what I will say is that Mehdi speaks for millions. And the theme of this show today has been that it doesn't pay to work, that the government lives beyond its means on our behalf, whilst you are making tough decisions every day. Taking that call from Mary, whose son Mackenzie has had 40 job applications. He's 19 years of age. He's got every qualification that he needs. He can't get a break, and things are only, Julia Hartley-Brewer, going to get worse.
I mean, they've actually nailed it. I mean, that's the thing. It's really depressing, isn't it? And I think especially, I mean, those of us who've got, teenagers, I know yours are a bit younger.
20 and 16 now, yeah.
Oh, are they that old? They're that old now. So, yeah, we're in the same sort of, place. And it is really, really worrying what's happening. And again, I know so many people are going, oh, the country's going to the dogs. I'm so glad I'm at this age and I'm older. Well, yeah, but we've got to worry about our kids and our grandkids and what's happening in the future. And Rachel Reeves is going to do nothing to help anyone's jobs apart from, she hopes, her own and the Prime Minister's. She is wrong about that.
Yeah, good luck with that. And actually, I had, the mega ultra-lefty Gina Miller on today. And
Why?
I know, well, you won't believe it.
Was that just to get you going?
Well, no, we know broken clock is right twice a day. And she said that this is economically illiterate. And what we've got is a horrible mix, yeah. But, a horrible mix of political and economic.
Yeah, but this is